Chapter 10:15. The Horseshoe Mountain was an extinct volcano at the bottom of the sea. Under the immense pressure of the seawater, red lava flowed out of many caves. The temperature of the sea was even higher than the Horseshoe Mountain. At this moment, 9 spiritual energy pillars rushed out from the 9 lava caves. They intertwined and rotated in the sea, forming a dense spiritual energy vortex that stirred up a large amount of seawater. At the center of the vortex, there was a giant crocodile that was 70 to 80 feet long. This crocodile was covered in dark red scales, and its body was surging with the spiritual energy of a peak Class 7 demon. Its eyes were nervously looking at the sky with a trace of fear. Dark clouds covered the sky above it. Countless flashes of lightning lingered in the thick clouds, and a terrifying destructive force was brewing. Just as this crocodile's spiritual energy surged and was preparing to resist the lightning tribulation, its eyes suddenly flashed with disbelief. Its 4 limbs moved crazily, and the crocodile let out a roar of despair as flames spewed out from its mouth and nose. The scales on its body turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye, as if the dark red rocks had turned into hot lava. It seemed that a terrifying flame was erupting in its body. This Class 7 demon beast that was about to undergo the lightning tribulation turned into a ball of flame in an instant. The surrounding seawater was evaporated by the high temperature, and a thick white mist rose. The lightning tribulation in the sky that was brewing to the extreme flickered, and countless lightning dragons rolled in the clouds. As if there was no target, the destructive lightning didn't strike down. At this moment, a thick white spiritual energy pillar rushed out from the depths of the sea vortex and instantly dispersed the ball of flame that was still burning. It carried a shocking spiritual pressure and rushed into the sky. The lightning tribulation in the sky that was still in a sluggish state was directly hit by this spiritual energy pillar. The thick lightning inside seemed to have met its nemesis and quickly melted. The entire cloud turned from black to white and emitted a dense halo. Even the spiritual energy pillar was wrapped in this halo, and the spiritual pressure it emitted was even more terrifying. The surrounding seawater was even lowered by a few dozen feet. Inside the Horseshoe Mountain, there was a huge man-made square. This used to be the main hall of the Scorching Sun sect. However, the originally glorious building had disappeared, leaving only broken walls, dark seawater, and scattered lava. The square of the mountain gate had turned into a fire bed at the bottom of the sea. Demonic beasts of various shapes and sizes were divided into 9 groups, cruising in the sea. Each group surrounded a node of the array that activated the white spirit energy pillar. The spirit energy pillar in the center of the square was the thickest, and a sturdy man with a crocodile mouth stood next to it. He had the body and limbs of a human. The surface of his skin was covered with a layer of dark red scales. He also had a thick tail behind him. The scales on the tail were shaped like sharp stones. This demon beast was the Class 9 demonic beast that guarded the Horseshoe Mountain, the burning sea crocodile. The burning sea crocodile lifted his head and looked at the mountain rock at the top of the Horseshoe Mountain. A trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. "Little red crocodile, don't blame me for being heartless. The Flood Dragon race's bloodline has already declined. Only by fully assisting the Great Elder can the sea race have a chance to give birth to a new." At this moment, the 9 light pillars seemed to be disturbed by something. They flickered violently, and a white ball of spirit energy appeared out of thin air at the location of the 9 array formations. The 9 spirit energy light pillars seemed to have received some kind of nourishment and became even more turbulent. They were almost twice as thick as before and shot towards the sky at an even faster speed. What's going on? Why is the 1,000-tide array accelerating? Just as the burning sea crocodile roared in shock, colorful Dharma treasures suddenly shot out from each white ball of spirit energy. They fiercely bombarded the nearby demonic beasts that were at a loss. Damn it! Why are human cultivators? Oh no! The burning sea crocodile suddenly thought of something. The scales on his thick tail turned red. With a thunderous momentum, he swung his tail at the white ball of light beside him. Boom! As if a bolt of lightning had exploded in the sky, the scorching seawater in the surroundings churned violently, turning into countless undercurrents that surged in all directions. The burning sea crocodile felt that his tail had collided with two claw-type Dharma treasures. On the treasures, there was a terrifying, penetrative ability condensed on them. They also seemed to have a powerful brute force. When the two forces collided, they instantly pierced through the hard scales on his tail. What Dharma treasures are these? Wait, these sharp claws. The burning sea crocodile immediately discovered that the pair of Dharma treasures that he had used as claws were nimbly moving towards the depths of his tail. It seemed to want to grab the spine in his tail. His expression changed greatly. The demonic spirit energy in his body crazily surged. A strong, dark red flame surged into his spine and exploded. The terrifying power of the flame surged and blasted the pair of Dharma treasures away. Then he opened his bloody mouth and spat out a ball of flame with an even higher temperature toward the white ball of spirit energy in front of him. There were also a dozen inch-sized circular blades mixed in the flame. The burning sea crocodile sensed that the nascent soul cultivator inside was not below him in terms of cultivation. The Dharma treasures in his possession were also astonishing. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to pierce through his tail. However, he was, after all, a level 9 demonic beast. His reaction was extremely fast, and he instantly counterattacked. His true life flame was his bloodline ability, the burning spirit true flame. When it was activated by his dense demonic spirit energy, its power was not inferior to any cultivator's strange flame. Moreover, the dozen or so blades were refined from his own scales. They were innate fire attribute treasures that complemented the burning spirit true flame. In the face of such a terrifying attack at close range, ordinary mid-nascent soul cultivators simply couldn't withstand it. At the same time, he retreated a few steps. With the white ball of spirit energy covering him, the burning sea crocodile didn't know how many people there were or what their cultivation levels were. He chose to distance himself. Dang, 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 dang. A series of metal clashing sounds were heard. The blades were knocked away in an instant, and a burly man followed closely behind. This person's body was surrounded by a layer of fluid-like silver light film. The seawater within 3 feet of his body seemed to have received some kind of strange force, forming a whirlpool on the surface of his body. The dark red flames that the burning sea crocodile spewed out also circulated in these whirlpools. This man seemed to have a unique ability. He also had an extremely fast movement speed in the deep sea. As he ran, the flames on the surface of his body had already circulated to his fists, and he blasted them forward. Seeing this, the burning sea crocodile was stunned at first. Then, he sneered in his heart. The demonic spirit energy in his body flashed rapidly, and his body quickly expanded into a huge body of 8 to 9 feet long. The ferocious crocodile head doubled in size and was lined with dense rows of sharp teeth. In the face of this pair of flaming fists, he didn't retreat. Instead, he moved forward and opened his mouth to bite them. As a level 9 burning sea crocodile, the most powerful part of his body was not his thick fish tail or sharp claws, but his bloody mouth. Each of his fangs, after being carefully tempered, was no less than a cultivator's matured magic treasure. Moreover, the biting force of his jaws was much stronger than his physical strength. It even reached 500 kilograms. The terrifying biting force, the sharp teeth of a matured magic treasure, and the burning spirit true fire that would spurt out at any time. Even if a level 10 demonic beast was bitten by the burning sea crocodile, its flesh and blood would be torn apart by the burning sea crocodile. As for a cultivator's magic treasure, its spirituality would be greatly damaged if it was light, and it would shatter if it was heavy. The burning sea crocodile looked at the pair of flaming fists with excitement. The other party didn't seem to know the horror of his ability, so he didn't dodge. Instead, he slammed his jaws together. Crack, crack, crack. The expected crisp shattering sound didn't come, but a dull friction sound. The burning sea crocodile felt that he had bitten two stones that were harder than his teeth. The impact of 500 kilograms shook his mouth, and sparks flew in all directions from his mouth and nose. His teeth almost popped out of his mouth. While the burning sea crocodile's head was dizzy, the pair of fists that he had bitten suddenly began to swell, turning into a pair of thick hands. The muscles on the back of the arms were even more twisted, becoming extremely ferocious. A primitive force that suffocated the burning sea crocodile burst out from the pair of hands, forcibly opening his mouth. At the same time, a silver vortex appeared on the surface of the palms, and a strong suction force surged out, sucking out the burning spirit true fire that was in his throat. The immense pain made the burning sea crocodile's mind clear. However, at this moment, a pitch-black, cone-shaped magic treasure suddenly flew from afar. It was burning with a layer of pure black flames, and it had an astonishing momentum. It directly blasted towards the open mouth. Roar! The burning sea crocodile's eyes were filled with horror. Its four limbs kept digging, and its tail slammed on the ground. However, no matter how hard it struggled, it couldn't break free from the pair of terrifying palms. Boom! The cone-shaped magic treasure pierced the inner wall of the crocodile's mouth. 1/3 of the sharp end pierced the skull from the bottom to the top. The burning sea crocodile struggled even more violently, and the monster core in its body emitted a terrifying fluctuation. In the next moment, the thick palms suddenly slapped the back of the cone-shaped magic treasure and blasted into the depths of the burning sea crocodile's head. Following a slight explosion, the burning sea crocodile's four limbs became powerless, and the aura of the monster core quieted down. Chapter 10:16. Lu Kuan looked at the dissipating burning sea crocodile. His expression did not relax. A terrifying invisible force field rolled out from his body, stirring up the seawater in a radius of 10 feet in front of him. It formed a spherical shadow that enveloped the body of the Class 9 demonic beast. After doing all this, a fiery red mini crocodile shadow flew out from the body of the burning sea crocodile. It shot out like a red lightning bolt, but then it hit the spherical shadow. Then, the spherical shadow quickly shrank and turned into a palm-sized ball, trapping the mini crocodile inside. A pile of gray sand gushed out, wrapping the ball and the seawater inside. Lu Kuan smiled. He stopped the thousand-arm divine ability and flipped the body of the burning sea crocodile, revealing its pale red abdomen. His left hand formed a claw with tiny silver vortexes flashing on his fingers. He grabbed the abdomen and dug out a red demonic core with a shocking aura. His right hand took out the cone-shaped Dharma treasure in the crocodile's mouth. With a swing of his hands, he threw the demonic core and the cone-shaped Dharma treasure behind him. Then, a spiritual light gushed out from his body. The Class 9 burning sea crocodile's body and the gray ball that locked its soul were stored in his storage space. Fellow Taoists, Lu will leave first. After doing all this, a strong treasure light gushed out from Lu Kuan's body. He shot out toward a hole without looking back. His speed was as fast as lightning, and there were no waves in the seawater. The death of the burning sea crocodile shook the hearts of many sea monsters. There were only 8 metamorphosis stage sea monsters in the square, but there were 13 nascent soul stage cultivators who had ambushed them. In their panic, 3 of the sea monsters were directly killed by the human cultivators who exuded powerful auras. The remaining 5 level 8 demonic beasts all fled. The 13 nascent soul stage cultivators split into groups of 2 or 3 and chased after them. They were here to kill demonic beasts that had taken human form. How could they let such a good opportunity slip by? 2 figures slowly walked out from the white spiritual light of the disc array in the middle. Tao Monarch Black Flame was holding a fiery red Class 9 demonic core in his hand. He was carefully putting it into a jade bottle. Fairy Mangling's body was surrounded by a layer of light purple silk. She was in a battle posture, ready to attack at any time. She had not recovered from the battle just now. Her expression was one of utter shock. If she and Tao Monarch Black Flames were to fight the level 9 burning sea crocodile in an underwater volcano, they would have to wait for the other nascent soul stage cultivators to free up to kill it. With the help of a late-stage nascent soul cultivator, things were different. The power of a grand cultivator's divine ability that was infused with heaven and earth essence chi far exceeded that of a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator. Even a Class 9 demon beast would find it very difficult to withstand it, not to mention that she and Tao Monarch Black Flames were also present. Although Fairy Mangling knew that this burning sea crocodile was dead for sure, she didn't expect that Master Lu would be able to kill this fearsome 9th-grade demon beast in less than 10 breaths without using the divine ability of a great cultivator. Recalling the battle just now, Fairy Mangling's face turned pale as she muttered, "Speed as fast as lightning, and a strong physical body that could withstand the attack of a Class 9 demonic beast." The physical body of a human can actually be cultivated to such a level at this moment. Tao Monarch Black Flames put away the jade bottle and looked at Fairy Mangling, whose expression was very interesting. He sighed and said, "Junior brother Three Sons described Master Lu's fearsome physical body, but after seeing it with my own eyes, I still find it unbelievable. If it was Tao, spiritual master here, I'm afraid we wouldn't be so relaxed." Fairy Mangling frowned and said, "Tao, spiritual master has been in the late-stage nascent soul stage for many years. The power of his natal magic treasure, the Frozen Cloud Fan, is amazing. Its attributes can completely suppress the burning sea crocodile. With our help, we can kill this demon beast in a short time." Tao Monarch Black Flames shook his head, his eyes flashing with an inexplicable look. "I mean easy. Fairy, you probably don't know that Master Lu only agreed to help after he was teleported here." Fairy Mangling's expression changed slightly. "You didn't communicate how to cooperate." Tao Monarch Black Flames said slowly, "Master Lu only told me to prepare my strongest offensive divine ability and wait for his voice transmission to launch the attack." Fairy Mangling was slightly stunned. Tao Monarch Black Flames sighed softly. "Only now did I understand Master Lu's intention. He wanted me to ignore everything and focus on condensing my offensive divine ability. However, facing a Class 9 demon beast at such a close distance, how could I dare to cast spells and prepare my strongest attack as if there was no one around?" Fairy Mangling immediately thought of the burning sea crocodile's burning soul, true fire, and the attack of the flying dagger scales. That kind of terrifying power shocked her so much that she directly used her defensive psychic magic treasure. Tao Monarch Black Flames murmured, "At the beginning of the battle, Master Lu used his claws to block the burning sea crocodile's tail attack. Then he used his physical body to block the burning sea crocodile's natal true fire. His fists were like magic treasures with amazing speed, intercepting all the flying daggers in one breath. He was concentrating on defense, giving me enough time to prepare my attack. However, I used my defensive magic treasure and wasted my energy on defense. Then, Master Lu transmitted his voice to prepare to attack. I could only hurriedly activate the Holy Fire All and did not reach its maximum power. I also subconsciously reserved some of my magic power to prevent the demon beast from dodging. Who knew that Master Lu used his physical divine ability to bind the burning sea crocodile in place and even opened its bloody mouth, giving it an excellent opportunity to attack. Compared to the scale-covered skin, the insides of the body are much more fragile. The hasty attack of the Holy Fire all directly injured it. Master Lu added more power to the magic treasure and shattered its skull. Master Lu was only in charge of defense and restricting the opponent. The real main attacker was me. If I did not waste my energy on defense and did not reserve my magic power on the direction of the Holy Fire All, the maximum power of my natal true Fire All would definitely be able to shatter the entire skull of the burning sea crocodile. Fairy Mangling finally understood after hearing Black Flames' words. If Taoist Tao came, they would have to face the counterattack of the burning sea crocodile together. Only half of their energy would be spent on attacking. With the defensive power of a level 9 demon beast, they would have to use continuous attacks to shatter its scales. However, with the cooperation of Lu Kuan, they only needed to condense their magic power and the power of the nascent soul to charge the power of the magic treasure and launch an attack. It was even simpler and easier than the fighting style of a chi refinement stage cultivator, Fairy Mingling murmured. No wonder Master Lu did not use the divine ability of a grand cultivator to attack. There is no need for that at all. Inside the crocodile's mouth, even an early nascent soul stage cultivator can kill it if he wholeheartedly activates his natal true fire all. Tao Lord Black Flame said, Master Lu is only in the late nascent soul stage. It is simply overkill to deal with this burning sea crocodile. As for the other nascent soul stage cultivators in the body refining pavilion, even if their physical bodies are weaker than Master Lu's, their combined strength is still beyond imagination. At this moment, he suddenly thought of something and his pupils shrank. Brother Han said that Master Lu killed Old Devil Sure, who was in the late nascent soul stage. I did not quite believe it, but now that I think about it, the Heavenly Sword sect has merged into the body refining pavilion. If Shi Jingtian is entangled with Master Lu and a sword cultivator like Old Monster Yu attacks from the side. Hearing this, Fairy Mingling could not help but break out in cold sweat. She had experienced Yu Long Fei's strength. In terms of offensive divine ability, even her senior brother Han could not compare to him. With Master Lu's help, he could definitely threaten a grand cultivator. Tao Lord Black Flames frowned and said, I just don't know how many nascent soul stage cultivators there are in the body refining pavilion. There are at least 6 or 7 nascent soul stage cultivators in a sect that has given birth to a grand cultivator. The strength of this body refining pavilion is too terrifying. Fairy Mingling nodded in agreement. Then, she heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the body refining pavilion is in Wei country and will not have any conflicts with the sects in Chu country. We must be on good terms with Master Lu. Who knows, we might need his help in the future. Tao Lord Black Flames looked at the surrounding environment and said, Let's hurry and set up the array. We still have to rush to the coastline. The battle there will not be so easy. Chapter 10:17. An astonishing treasure light soared into the sky from the sea and stopped in midair. Lu Kuan looked at the sea that stretched as far as the eye could see. His eyes revealed a look of amazement, flooding the Shiyuan state. Just this divine ability of the myriad tide grand array was inconceivable. The monstrous waves swept over, and even the forbidden array of the immortal cultivation sects could not withstand the terrifying impact. It showed him what it meant to move mountains and fill the sea. In addition, this array could also gather the heaven and earth essence chi. Although it was driven by countless powerful sea demons, it showed the strength of the Sea Clan. The body refining pavilion was not even worth mentioning in comparison. This made Lu Kuan even more determined to hide the strength of the body refining pavilion. He had previously forced all the itinerant cultivators and immortal cultivation families in the entire Wei nation into the body refining pavilion in order to seal the news. With the protection of the Mountain of Vows divine soul restriction, nascent soul cultivators would not be able to search for key information. What Lu Kuan wanted to do now was to beat the high-level immortal cultivators in the surrounding immortal cultivation countries and make them misjudge the strength of the body refining pavilion. He also wanted them to discover the huge advantage of body cultivators in combat cooperation. In this way, the surrounding immortal cultivation sects would think that the body refining pavilion could only be befriended and not offended. This would give the body refining pavilion a lot of time to develop. He had helped Tao Lord Black Flames kill the burning sea crocodile for this purpose. Hey, what a violent fluctuation of heaven and earth essence chi. Lu Kuan raised his head and looked. Not far away, the cloud that was supported by the pillar of spiritual light suddenly flickered with a white halo, and a strange fluctuation surged out in all directions. Is this the power of will? Lu Kuan's figure sank downwards, evading this fluctuation. In that instant of collision, he felt a sense of arrogance that seemed to look down on all life. This will was different from the will of the true devil. It didn't have any offensive properties towards the soul. The heaven and earth essence chi in the depths of the nearby spirit chi seemed to be stimulated by this energy that contained pride and appeared in the form of a pale blue halo. At a glance, with a white cloud as the core, a pale blue halo spread out in all directions at an extremely fast speed. It was as if the white cloud had activated a Yuan Qi light shield. Lu Kuan's expression changed as he looked at the light blue barrier above his head. Within this light shield, he sensed another will. If it weren't for the fact that he had the 5 elements Chaos Demon Bone, which allowed him to easily sense the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth, he probably wouldn't have been able to detect this faint will that exuded a strong aura of laziness. Lu Kuan had come into contact with many kinds of willpower, and he knew that this was a special ability that only cultivators in the soul formation stage possessed. With this kind of power, these top cultivators were able to freely manipulate the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Now, it seemed that this sense of laziness had been hidden in the chi of heaven and earth of the Western Plains all this time. It seemed that the arrogance of the Thousand Tides Grand Formation had stimulated it, causing it to appear. Lu Kuan immediately thought of the Soul Formation Senior from the Spirit Transformation sect. The feeling this intent gave him was very similar to the Oath Stone of the Spirit Transformation sect. Hasn't that senior always been overseeing the Abyss Island in the Inner Sea? His willpower can actually cover such a large area. While thinking, he raised his right fist and directly punched at the blue halo above him. In the face of 400,000 kilograms of power, the halo only trembled slightly before returning to its original state. Lu Kuan felt as if he had punched a ball of cotton. It was as if there was a unique power that had worn down the power of his attack. He thought for a moment, and the blood in his body surged. His arms turned into ferocious giant arms. At the same time, the origin power of his physical body began to circulate around his body like a torrent of water. He directly used the severing fist battle technique. However, the surrounding Yuan Qi of heaven and earth that was emitting a blue halo completely ignored him. It didn't even move in the slightest. Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly. With the addition of willpower, it's equivalent to a soul formation stage cultivator's divine ability. 140,000 kilograms of physical origin power is simply impossible to intercept. He put away his divine ability and didn't continue probing. He pondered deeply. If my guess is correct, the original Thousand Tide Formation should have used the will of pride to force the will of indolence. Thus, the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth would surge towards the core of the Thousand Tide Formation to help the old demon turtle break through. After the immortal cultivators of the Chu country tampered with it, the will of arrogance and the will of indolence would manifest into a protective shield made of elemental energy. Such a defensive divine ability would not only absorb the elemental energy of heaven and earth, it would also consume 2 types of wills. His sky-piercing roar and golden eye divine ability were both powerful divine abilities that drew in the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth. Without the consumption of willpower, he wouldn't be able to use them. Even the golden eye divine ability would use up 2 types of willpower, the true demon intent and the frenzy intent. Lu Kuan frowned, feeling that he had missed out on some key point. After thinking for a long time, he shook his head and turned into a faintly discernible light, flying towards the west. His speed was far faster than the spreading speed of the blue light barrier. In the other 2 directions of Shi Yuan State, where the Tao Yi School and the Heavenly Talisman School were located, there was a towering spiritual Qi pillar respectively, holding up the sky. Similarly, there was also a light blue Yuan Qi barrier spreading to the surroundings. As Lu Kuan flew rapidly, in the distant direction of the sea, 2 thick spiritual Qi pillars gradually came into view. They seemed to be on the coastline between the inland sea and Shi Yuan State. Lu Kuan frowned slightly and said, "What are the immortal cultivators of Chu State and the demon clans on the land up to? The nodes of the array along the coastline are not tampered with. How can this light shield of divinity transformation realm envelop the West Yuan state? Forget it. I'd better concentrate on dealing with the old demon turtle and get the flesh of the peak 10th level demon beast." All kinds of thoughts flashed through his mind. He sped up a little. After half a day, he arrived at the agreed location, a famous flat-top mountain in Shi Yuan state, which was now a small island in the sea. The peak 10th level demon turtle was in the middle of the two light pillars on the coastline, which was also the core of the Thousand Tides array, breaking through the bottleneck of the Demon King. It was only 500 miles away from here. Looking at the empty island, Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a golden light. He revealed himself, and in a short while, a cloud appeared out of thin air. A small opening opened, and he flew straight in. Inside, on a reef stood two figures, looking at him with a smile. One of them was the Tao-E spiritual master, and the other was an old man with white hair and a youthful complexion. His body emitted the mana waves of the middle stage of the nascent soul stage. Master Lu is the furthest away, but you can still arrive so quickly. Your escape technique is amazing. I admire you. The Tao-E spiritual master's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. Lu Kuan smiled, looked at the other person, and asked, "May I know who this fellow Taoist is?" The Tao-E spiritual master slapped his head and said, "I forgot to introduce, this is my junior brother, Taoist Baiyun, the core of the array where the demon turtle is, and there are many high-level sea demons guarding it. We can't do without the help of other fellow Taoists." Lu Kuan asked curiously, "Other than Taoist Baiyun, there are others?" The Tao-E spiritual master smiled and said, "Other than the three of us, there are also fellow Taoist Han Feng from the Valley of Falling Clouds and Pavilion Master Chun from the Pavilion of Moon and Star. Fellow Taoist Han cultivates the top-level Earth attribute technique, Mountain Shaking Arts, which counters the water attribute techniques of the sea race. And Pavilion Master Chun is proficient in the art of array formations. He can help us break the defensive restriction of the core of the array formation as fast as possible. As for the demon race, they're here." At this moment, the Tao-E spiritual master raised his head and looked towards the southeast. There was a pale yellow escape light shooting towards them. He flickered a spell with one hand and opened a gap in the restriction. The yellow escape light flew straight and landed in front of everyone. The demon fog dispersed, and 3 demon cultivators with different appearances appeared. The leader was the Kuei Cow King. Behind him was a golden-scaled demon beast that resembled a lion, and a demon cultivator with black fur and a badger-like face. The Tao-E spiritual master went forward and cupped his hands, saying, "Fellow Taoists from the demon race, you've come at the right time. I was just about to introduce you to Master Lu." Hearing this, the golden-eye lion and the badger-like demon both looked at Lu Kuan. They had heard from the Kuei Cow King that this person was a half-demon and cultivated an unheard-of body-refining technique. The strength of his physical body was even stronger than the Kuei Cow King's. Lu Kuan put on a harmless expression and smiled, saying, "Fellow Taoists from the demon race, I'm Lu Kuan." The blood in the golden-eye lion's body surged as if he had sensed something. His eyes showed some kindness as he said, "Master Lu, I'm the golden-eye lion king." After seeing Lu Kuan, Badger's 6 sharp battle senses immediately felt a suffocating feeling. The black fur on his body stood up slightly and his body sank down. The sharp claws on his limbs flashed with a golden light as he subconsciously assumed a battle stance. Seeing Lu Kuan's eyes flickering with golden light, this rank 9 ferocious badger couldn't help but shiver. He said dryly, "Greetings, Pavilion Master Lu. I'm Badger 6. Chapter 1018. High up in the sky somewhere above the sea, 5 people and 3 demons were flying in stealth. Lu Kuan looked at the silver light screen that enveloped everyone, and his eyes flashed with curiosity. A young man beside him saw this and said, "Master Lu, This is the top talisman of the Heavenly Talisman sect, the Escape Talisman. Other than invisibility, it can also hide all fluctuations. Even a great cultivator would find it difficult to detect. Then, he changed the topic. However, this talisman can only be made by someone in the advanced nascent soul stage. This person was the Grand Elder of the Falling Cloud Valley, Hanfeng. The meaning of his words was obvious. The Heavenly Talisman sect's top talisman making technique was given to the Tao E sect to make. It was obvious that the relationship between the two sects was not as simple as being allies. Lu Kuan could not be bothered with the matters between the sects of the Chu country. He said politely, "So it's called the Escape Talisman. Thank you for your explanation." Hearing Lu Kuan's reply, Han Feng smiled and did not take it to heart. At this moment, the Tao E sect suddenly asked, "Kuei Cao King, everyone is here. Can you tell us the layout of the formation core?" The Kuei Cao King shook his head and said, "Tao E, I have already said that there is only the gathering point of the Qi of heaven and earth. There is no formation disk of the Thousand Tides formation. As for the defensive measures, only the old turtle demon himself knows." At this point, he paused and said, "However, according to my deduction, other than the usual shape-shifting sea demons guarding the formation, it is very likely that there is a 10th level sea demon." The Taoist sect was shocked. A 10th level sea demon? Don't they need to restrain the Flood Dragon clan? The Kuei Cao King said slowly, "Other than the old turtle demon, there are 4 other 10th level sea demons. The young master of the Flood Dragon clan, the Blackhorn Sea Python, the Dragon Whale, and the Silver-Headed Shark. According to what I know, the old Dragon King is recuperating in seclusion. The Dragon Palace is sealed. If we want to trap the young master of the Flood Dragon clan, 2 10th level sea demons are enough." Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with surprise as he said, "Brother Niu means that we have to face 2 level 10 sea monsters." The Kuei Cao King nodded and said, "Very likely. However, the strongest dragon whale beast only lives in the deep sea. It is unlikely that it would come to the shallow sea. Although the Blackhorn Sea Python and the Silverhead Shark are strong, we have Master Lu to help us. There is nothing to be afraid of. That ice-armored turtle that could send messages was instantly killed by our combined efforts. Before the Yuan-Chi barrier arrived, the old turtle demon did not know that something had happened. He must be in seclusion to make a breakthrough. We'll only be facing 1 level 10 sea monster. However, if there are too many other sea monsters in human form and they hold us back, it'll be troublesome." Taoist Tao E said coldly, "Then let's take them by surprise. First, we'll sneak attack a wave of sea demons, then we'll attack from the front." The group's speed was shocking. 500 miles passed in the blink of an eye. As they got closer, they gradually stopped. 5 miles away, there was a dense fog floating on the surface of the sea. It covered an area of 5 or 6 miles. Taoist Tao E smiled and said, "As expected, this guy is making a breakthrough on the surface of the sea." The Kuei Cao King said matter-of-factly, "There is Yuan-Chi of heaven and earth at the bottom of the sea and in the air. Moreover, the Thousand Tides formation has just been activated. The surface of the sea is where the Yuan-Chi of heaven and earth is the densest." The others, including Lu Kuan, were delighted. The strength of an immortal cultivator was still limited in the sea. If they fought on the surface of the sea, their chances of winning would be much higher. Just as the group was about to investigate, Chun Mingzhu's face suddenly changed, and he said, "Don't use your divine sense yet." The group could not help but look at the pavilion master of the Star Moon Pavilion. Chun Mingzhu's pupils dilated, as if they had turned into the stars in the sky, adorning his pale eyes. At the same time, his fingers were constantly moving, as if he was calculating something. After a while, he slowly said, "This fog array seems to be used for concealment and protection, but from the distribution and fluctuation of the spiritual energy, it is extremely sensitive to divine sense and energy. As long as there is divine sense, demonic spiritual energy, or spell fluctuation, there will be a special change." Taoist Tao E and the Kuei Cao King were shocked. They were confident in their divine sense and were about to release it. But if the fog was so sensitive, it would alert the enemy. If the sea demons inside were prepared, they would be able to take the initiative and delay them for a longer time. Taoist Dao Yi frowned and asked, "The Heaven Evasion Talisman can conceal mana fluctuations. Pavilion Master Chun, can you bring us into the array without triggering the array?" Chun Mingzhu observed for a while and sighed. "My star moon pupil has only been cultivated to the star pupil realm. Although I can see the changes in the spiritual energy in the array, it takes up a lot of my divine sense. If I were to deduce the way to break the array, I'm afraid it would take more than 6 hours." Taoist Dao Yi's expression changed slightly. "No, at that time, the elemental energy shield will spread here, and the sea demons will be alerted." Just as everyone was silent, the Kuei Cow King suddenly asked, "Pavilion Master Chun, is it enough to help you detect the changes in the spiritual energy in the fog?" Chun Mingzhu nodded. "Yes, but I can't use my divine sense." At this point, he revealed a hint of surprise. Could it be that the Kuei Cow King is proficient in the spiritual eye technique? The Kuei Cow King's lips curled. "I don't, but Master Lu's spiritual eye technique can not only see through fog and stone, but also counter all formations and illusions. It's amazing." Following his words, everyone looked at Lu Kuan in surprise. Lu Kuan raised his eyebrows and said calmly, "Kuei Cow King, you're exaggerating. Lu's physical body is strong, and his eyesight is not weak, but it's not that exaggerated." The Kuei Cow King laughed softly. "Master Lu has the bloodline of the long-armed giant ape, and can even use the spiritual giant arm at will. What's more, the famous golden light divine eye. And I've been observing all this time. Master Lu's pupils have always maintained a wisp of gold. This is a sign that the golden light divine eye has reached mastery." Lu Kuan did not expect his golden light divine eye to be so famous among the demon race. He said slowly, "Then I'll give it a try. If I'm wrong, don't blame Lu." The Kuei Cow King seemed to be more confident than Lu Kuan. He laughed and said, "If that old man can set up a formation that the golden light divine I can't see through, then there's no need for us to break it." Chun Mingzhu said tentatively, "Why don't Master Lu give it a try first, and compare the distribution of spiritual energy with mine?" Lu Kuan nodded. The power of his consciousness surged into his eyes, and they were enveloped in a golden light. While he compared the changes in spiritual energy with Chun Mingzhu, he also used his spiritual eyes to look inside. Just as the Kuei Cow King said, this layer of fog could not stop the golden light divine eye at all. The fog floated on the surface of the sea, and many shadows could be seen in the water below. Clearly, there were sea demons lying in ambush. Behind the fog was a small island with a radius of several miles. The island was covered in colorful, tiny corals. These corals were a little strange. In each shrubby coral bush, there were only 5 branches and leaves, and they looked very thin. Inside the coral bush, there was another layer of restrictive shield that emitted a purple halo. Chun Mingzhu saw that the changes in Lu Kuan's spiritual eyes were exactly the same as his, and his face lit up with joy. Master Lu's spiritual eyes are indeed powerful. With this, I'm confident that I can break the formation quickly without alerting the demon beasts inside. Then I'll have to trouble the two of you." A silver talisman appeared in Dao Yi's hand. He cast one spell after another, and the silver spiritual light that enveloped everyone became even more profound. Then, with Lu Kuan and Chun Mingzhu in the lead, they flew down into the clouds below. If you like the Ancestor of Body Cultivators, please bookmark it. The Ancestor of Body Cultivators updates the fastest. Chapter 1019. Under the cover of the escape talisman, everyone came out of the fog in the blink of an eye. A pair of palm-sized 8 trigrams formation plates appeared in Chun Mingzhu's hands. Then he began to recite an obscure incantation, and beams of white spirit light shot out from the 8 trigrams, merging with the silver spirit light of the escape talisman. A layer of fog appeared on the originally empty escaped talisman's spiritual light. It was the same as the formation in front of them, and there was no difference. Just as everyone was about to enter, Dao Yi suddenly said, "Master Lu, can you see the situation in the fog? Are there sea demons lying in ambush?" Although Lu Kuan had already finished his investigation, he still looked around and shook his head. "There are no sea demons in the fog, but in the sea under the fog, I can see the shadow of some kind of sea demon." The Kuei Cow King asked, "What kind of sea demon?" Lu Kuan frowned. "There's fog. We have to get closer." Dao Yi pondered for a moment and said, "In that case, let's enter the formation. Pavilion Master Chun, you can control our escape light." Chun Mingzhu nodded and shot out a spiritual light, connecting everyone together. Then, he communicated with Lu Kuan about the distribution of spiritual energy while chanting a complicated spell. Rays of spiritual light surged out of the 8 trigrams magic treasure, leading everyone forward. As they went deeper, Chun Mingzhu's chanting became more and more hurried, but his expression became more relaxed. His hands were also making gestures, sometimes to the left, sometimes to the right, and his speed increased. Although Lu Kuan's attainments and formations were not high, he could see that the Pavilion Master of the Star Moon Pavilion had simulated the enemy's fog restriction in a short time. This level of attainment and formations was simply amazing. No wonder Dao Yi wanted to bring Chun Mingzhu along. As long as the enemy set up a formation, it would save a lot of time. At this moment, Lu Kuan suddenly said, "Pavilion Master Chun, wait a moment. There's an 8-sea demon below." "Yeah, it seems to be a shark." Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with golden light. A gray shark more than 5 feet long cruised in the sea. Its skin was very bright, without a single wrinkle. Its tail was a round silver blade, emitting a sharp metallic luster. In addition, there was a silver ball the size of a millstone on its head, as if there was a huge tumor on its head. He described the appearance of a shark as he observed. The Kuei Cow King exhaled a puff of mist from his nose. "This is the Silverhead Shark clan. That level, 10-old shark, is most likely guarding this place. Pavilion Master Lu, can you see the situation behind the mist?" Hearing this, Lu Kuan's eyes flickered with golden light as he looked into the distance. He rubbed his eyes and said, "It's a coral island. Other than some coral bushes and a defensive formation, there are no demonic beasts." Taoist Master Dao Yi pondered for a moment and said, "This fog only covers an area of 6 to 7 li. How long will it take for Pavilion Master Chun to take us around it?" Chun Mingzhu wiped the sweat off his forehead and estimated, "This Chun has already understood the operation method of this array. It will only take half an hour to complete 1 round." Lu Mao's mind stirred. "Taoist Dao, you want to check the number of sea monsters?" Dao, Pavilion Master. "Yes. Since Master Chun has cracked the formation, why not take the opportunity to understand the strength of the sea demons? If we find that level 10 silverhead shark, we can even ambush it." At this point, he looked at Lu Kuan and said, "Master Lu can see the demons in the sea from midair. In the lower layer of the fog, the situation at the bottom of the sea can't escape Master Lu's spiritual eyes." Lu Kuan looked reluctant. "It should be possible. If the silverhead shark uses a concealment spell, Lu can't guarantee it." The Kuei Cow King smiled. "Master Lu can rest assured. The silverhead shark is not proficient in concealment spells." Dao, Pavilion Master. "Then let's begin." Under Chun Mingzhu's control, everyone hid in the fog and circled around the coral island. Lu Kuan didn't hide the power of the golden eye, but he didn't hide the situation of the demons. As Lu Kuan reported the level and number of silverhead sharks, everyone's face darkened. The coral island was fine. It only had a defensive formation and no demons. However, the number of silverhead sharks in the surrounding sea was terrifying. There were 6 level 8 shark demons near the sea. Most importantly, in the deep sea area, there were 2 level 9 silverhead sharks besides level 10 old sharks. This strength was comparable to a top immortal sect. The silverhead sharks were only one of the sea tribes, and they had such strength. It was clear how powerful the sea tribes were. If the sea tribes didn't fight among themselves and the land demons didn't help, the immortal cultivation world of Chu would face a catastrophe. The overall strength of the sea tribes was not something immortal cultivators could contend against. The Kuei Cow King's face darkened. The silverhead sharks have mobilized all their shape-shifting members. The old turtle demon is really cautious. With such strength, no matter who the opponent is, they can hold them back for a while. The Daoi spiritual master exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and said, "Although the escape talisman's magical power is not weak, in the face of such a dense group of transformed sea demons in the sea, it is very likely to be discovered. Moreover, with 3 high-level silverhead sharks together, it is difficult to ambush. But if we don't kill this level 10 shark demon, it will be even more difficult to kill the old turtle demon." Dao Pavilion Master looked around and said, "I wonder if anyone has a good plan." The Kuei Cow King and the Golden Lion King were deep in thought. Only Badger 6 licked his lips excitedly, showing a strong fighting spirit. Han Feng and Daoist Baiyun were also at their wits' end. The silverhead sharks were water-type beasts, and their fighting strength in the sea was amazing. After land demons and immortal cultivators entered the water, their strength would be reduced. They couldn't secretly ambush the level 10 shark demon, so they could only deal with the level 8 ones. Although the level 8 silverhead sharks were on the sea surface, they were scattered. At most, they could kill 2 of them with lightning speed, and they would be discovered. The remaining silverhead sharks were not as strong as them, but there was not much difference. Everyone seemed to be in a deadlock. At this moment, Lu Kuan suddenly chuckled and said, "Lu has a plan." Dao Pavilion Master quickly said, "Master Lu, please speak." Lu Kuan said, "Actually, the difficulty is not that we are not strong enough, but that if we dive into the sea, we will be easily discovered by the silverhead sharks." Dao Pavilion Master was surprised. Does Master Lu have a secret technique that can hide in the sea without being discovered? Lu Kuan shook his head and said, "Lu's concealment technique can't be used in the sea." Then he narrowed his eyes and said, "Although Lu can't strengthen the concealment technique of the escape talisman, he can attract the attention of all the silverhead sharks. As long as their attention is on Lu, you will have a chance to hide." "What? Attract the attention of these shape-shifting beasts?" Everyone was shocked. If what Lu Kuan said was true, he would have to face the attack of 9 shape-shifting beasts, and there was even a level 10 one among them. Only the Kuei Cow King and Dao Pavilion Master's eyes lit up. They kind of understood Lu Kuan's meaning. They had fought with Pavilion Master Lu before and knew that his physical defense was heaven-defying. If he could easily withstand the joint attack of 2 great cultivators, then he would definitely be able to withstand the joint attack of this group of demonic beasts. If Lu Kuan attracted all the silverhead sharks, they could use the evading talisman to sneak over and launch an ambush with everyone's strength. As long as they got rid of the level 10 silverhead shark, the rest of the battle would be easy. Lu Kuan looked at Dao Pavilion Masters and Kuei Cow King's expressions and knew that they understood this simple tactic. Then he changed his tone and said, "Although Lu is very confident in his defense, attracting so many shape-shifting beasts head-on is extremely risky." Dao Pavilion Master raised his eyebrows and said, "Master Lu, if you have something to say, just say it." Lu Kuan said calmly, "If we succeed, all the spoils of the level 10 shark demon and the flesh of the other silverhead sharks will belong to Lu. Apart from that, Kuei Cow King, Dao Pavilion Master, Han Mingzhu Pavilion Master Chun, you all have to agree to one request of Lu. Hearing this, Han Feng and Chen Mingzhu were fine, but the Kuei Cow King and Dao Pavilion Master's faces were a little ugly. Lu Kuan was asking for too much. The level 10 beasts were treasures. Not only did he want them all, he also wanted them to agree to one request. Lu Kuan ignored everyone's expressions. His lips moved slightly, and he directly sent a message to these people. Han Feng and Chen Mingzhu were slightly stunned. Clearly, they did not expect Lu Kuan's request to be so simple. After hearing this, The Kuei Cow King and Dao Pavilion Master's eyebrows relaxed slightly. Lu Kuan looked around and said directly, "If no one has any objections, let's discuss how to cooperate." After Dao Pavilion Master and the others communicated, they realized that there was really no other way. Feeling the passage of time, they said helplessly, "Let's do as Master Lu says." Chapter 10:20. Around the seabed at the bottom of the coral island, there were 3 tall, human-shaped demon beasts. The man in the lead looked no different from a human, except for his glossy gray skin and his 3-meter-tall, muscular body. He was the patriarch of the Silverhead Shark clan, a famous rank 10 expert of the oceanic race, Sha Tongtian. Sha Tongtian's tall body swam around the seabed. He didn't need to do anything, and the surrounding seawater automatically formed an undercurrent that carried him along. His bell-sized blue eyes flashed with anxiety from time to time. The old Dragon King has already fallen, and the Flood Dragon clan's bloodline has been weakening for the past 30,000 years. Even the strongest young chief will need at least 200 or 300 years to break through to the Demon King realm. But after 100 or 200 years, the changes in the outer seas Yuan Qi will be discovered by the great Zhou Empire's soul formation cultivators. At that time, the Sea Clan will be strangers to us. Thinking of this, he raised his head and looked at the coral island with a hopeful expression. Elder Turtle has the bloodline of the Thunder Turtle, and not long ago, he absorbed the blood essence of the Black Turtle. He has the best chance of making a breakthrough among the sea race. With the Thousand Tides formation that he has set up over the years, he will definitely break through and enter the Demon King realm. At that time, our Sea Clan will have the power to protect ourselves. Besides Sha Tongtian, there were 2 other grade 9 silverhead sharks, 1 male and 1 female. The female was also 1 zhang tall, like an incomparably sturdy shrew. As for the male, he was even taller, at least 2 zhang long. Their transformed bodies were basically the same as Sha Tongtian, except that there was an additional silver hammer-like lump on their heads. The shrewd-looking shark demon looked at the 6/8 level silverhead sharks swimming above and said uncomfortably, "Big brother, Shiyuan State has already been completely occupied. Why are all of the silverhead sharks transformed clansmen mobilized? The deep sea is the most suitable place for us to cultivate." Sha Tongtian looked at her coldly and said with a dignified tone, "What do you know? Great Elder's breakthrough cannot be lost. Although the human cultivators have suffered heavy losses, there are still many nascent soul cultivators. What if they use some kind of secret technique to infiltrate the Thousand Tides formation and discover the core of the formation? With so many of us here, even if we can't defeat them, we'll still be able to hold them off for a while." The shrew did not seem to be very afraid of Sha Tongtian. She curled her lips and said, "The human race has nothing powerful except for some fancy tricks. I really don't know why we demon race have to transform into the fragile appearance of the human race." Before Sha Tongtian could say anything, the other grade 9 shark demon shook his head and said, "Second sister, you are wrong. Although the transformed human body is weaker than the original body, after forming the dantian and meridians in the body, the cultivation speed of the demon spirit force has taken a qualitative leap. In ancient times, the powerful demon beasts that didn't shape-shift were all born with powerful bloodlines and amazing cultivation speed. Naturally, I didn't need to shape-shift. But if we didn't shape-shift and cultivate, I'm afraid we would still be in the realm of level 8. And there's an even more important point. The shark demon opened its mouth and spat out a huge silver, round-headed axe. The blade of the axe was a huge semicircle, and the hilt was a gray bone. This weapon emitted a terrifying aura. It was even stronger than the mature, magical treasures of immortal cultivators. With the dantian and meridians, we can use the demon spirit force to speed up the cultivation of the strongest part of the body. We can refine the tail blade to be even stronger than the magical treasures of immortal cultivators. When we reach Big Brother's realm, the silver horn can be refined into another weapon. At this time, Sha Tongtian snorted and said, Second sister, you are too lazy. Although third brother entered the realm of grade 9 later than you, his demon spirit force cultivation and tailblade are stronger than yours. The shrew seemed to be unconvinced, but just as she was about to say something, she saw her big brother's face change slightly and look into the distance. She also felt something and turned her head to look. Her eyes couldn't help but widen. What the hell is that? Why is it so fast? Through their divine senses, they sensed a ball of silver spirit light shooting over from the deep sea dozens of miles away. This ball of silver spirit light was very strange. It emitted a strong aura of a magical treasure and brought along countless spinning phantoms. It seemed to be spinning at a terrifying speed. The seawater behind it was stirred up by the spinning force, causing white and violent water to surge out and create a powerful thrust. The shrew and the other grade 9 shark demon were dumbfounded. This speed was even faster than them grade 9 sea demons. It was simply inconceivable. Sha Tongtian's face sank and said, "It emits the aura of many magical treasures. It seems to be a powerful combined magical treasure. It's heading directly in our direction. Pay attention to the surroundings. There might be immortal cultivators around." Although he didn't see what it was, Sha Tongtian didn't dare to be careless with its astonishing speed and terrifying treasure light. He opened his mouth slightly, and 2 huge silver weapons landed in his hands. One of them was a round-headed axe similar to the grade 9 shark demons, but with a deeper aura. The other one was a thick silver hammer with a diameter of 4 feet. It was as heavy as a millstone. Looking at the silver spirit light that was already 1 mile away, Sha Tongtian snorted coldly. Rich demonic spiritual energy surged into his right hand. Then he raised a shoulder, raised the silver hammer with a deep aura, and threw it forward. A torrential current erupted from the bottom of the sea. A large amount of white water splashed in all directions. The 2 grade 9 shark demons beside him were even forced back several feet by the pressure. The silver hammer was wrapped in a layer of pale blue halo. Under the influence of this halo, the surrounding seawater didn't hinder the hammer's flight. Instead, it gave it a powerful boost, and its speed continued to increase. The blue halo and the silver spirit light shooting over were both at a terrifying speed. The distance of 1 mile was covered in a flash. But just as the two were about to collide, a terrifying power of blood chi suddenly surged from the silver spirit light. This magic treasure that seemed to be part of a combination suddenly grew in size, and a layer of pale blue halo appeared on its surface. At the same time, Sha Tongtian felt the demonic spiritual energy on the silver hammer depleting at an extremely fast rate. The blue halo on the hammer also dimmed. His pupils shrank, and he gritted his teeth. Late nascent soul stage. Then he saw the seawater near the silver spirit light twist and warp, forming an arc. This strange combination magic treasure brushed past the hammer and continued to shoot upward. Sha Tongtian couldn't help but roar. Damn it. This magic treasure's target isn't us. It's in grade 8 clansmen. What are you doing, little bastard? Hurry up and retreat. Near the surface of the sea, a 50-feet-long shark was staring blankly at the silver spirit light that was speeding up. It only reacted after hearing Sha Tongtian's roar. But in the blink of an eye, it only had time to place its tail blade in front of its body. Boom! A burst of violent energy soared into the sky. A crater that was several thousand feet deep appeared on the surface of the sea nearby. A large amount of seawater was evaporated by the terrifying power. Massive waves that were several hundred feet tall surged in all directions and dispersed a lot of the dense mist. After the silver spirit light struck the silverhead shark, it finally slowed down and stopped rotating. However, it wasn't some combination magic treasure that was inside. Instead, it was a burly man with a strange physique. His body was normal, but his arms were twice as thick as his thighs. Thick and deformed veins and muscles could be seen on his arms, and they were exuding a suffocating pressure. The watermelon-sized fist was pressed against the silverhead shark's tail blade. The tail blade's light was extremely dim, and there was even a crack in its center, as if it had been struck by an irresistible force. The tip of the tail blade pierced into the silverhead shark's smooth jaw. Meanwhile, the burly man's other hand had smashed into the silverhead shark's left eye and was stuck right below its head. A small half of its head was occupied by this thick arm. The shark demon's life force was quickly fading away, and even its demonic soul was being forcibly pulverized. A human? How is this possible? Sha Tong Tian looked at the death of his metamorphosis-level clansman, and his eyes widened in anger. His body emitted an even more intense blue halo, and he turned into a torrent that rushed towards the burly man. As for love, spiritual light flashed in front of the burly man, and the body of the silver-headed shark disappeared. Then he raised his arms and spread his legs at a strange angle. It was as if there were no joint restrictions, and they were at a right angle to his arms. A silver membrane of light appeared, and the burly man's body began to spin rapidly, turning into a silver spiral again. He stirred up surging water as he rushed towards the other level, Shark Demon. When the silverhead shark saw this, it was so frightened that it immediately turned around and fled. Chapter 10:21. Lu Kuan's body spun crazily. In addition to the speed provided by the bone treasure, his limbs and torso formed a high-speed spinning spiral, with the seawater assisting him. Amidst the dense white splashes and silver light, Lu Kuan's golden eyes flickered as he calmly observed the situation in all directions. As the spiral of his body had just begun to spin, it had not yet reached its maximum speed. The rank 10 silverhead shark quickly closed the distance, but the rank 8 silverhead shark in front was much slower than him. All of a sudden, a terrifying aura came from behind him. The silver hammer was approaching from afar, and it was shooting towards him. Lu Kuan coldly snorted in his heart. His arms expanded, and his physical strength increased to 1,200,000 kilograms. His physical source strength rapidly circulated around his body. He adjusted the severing fist's divine ability according to the distribution of heaven and earth yuan qi. Then his torso slightly bent, planning to avoid a head-on collision like before. But at this moment, a dazzling blue halo flew from behind. It was a silver, round-headed axe. The opponent seemed to have predicted Lu Kuan's actions and slashed in the direction he dodged. Lu Kuan was just about to dodge again when the silverhead hammer that brushed past him suddenly erupted with the terrifying power of frigid water. The surrounding seawater instantly turned into shattered ice, greatly reducing the speed of his body's rotation. At the same time, the silverhead hammer drew an arc and smashed towards him again. Although the blue halo on it had dimmed, this life weapon of the shark demon still absorbed some heaven and earth yuan qi, and its power was astonishing. Lu Kuan's physical source strength reached 1,200,000 kilograms after using the connecting arms divine ability, entering the late nascent soul stage. But facing a rank 10 veteran expert, it was still a little difficult. At this moment, he was unable to intercept heaven and earth yuan qi again. But in the face of such a situation, he did not panic at all. The portion of heaven and earth yuan qi that he intercepted from the silverhead hammer was added to his fists. His rapidly spinning torso was like a meat grinder. His huge fists smashed towards the silver axe that emitted a powerful aura. The first punch landed on the side of the axe, dispersing a small portion of its blue halo. At the same time, the terrifying brute force of the punch forcefully changed the direction of the attack, causing it to pass right under Lu Kuan's head. Then his second spinning fist turned into a palm and grabbed the spine-shaped axe handle. The chaos demon energy in his hand surged into the axe in a frenzy. The axe slightly trembled, and a rumbling sound seemed to be transmitted from the inside of the axe. Then its aura weakened a lot. Lu Kuan held the silver axe and swung it towards the silver-headed hammer that was flying towards him once again. Bang! Monstrous waves once again rose up in the sea, and circles of seawater were evaporated. Although Lu Kuan had blocked 2 waves of attacks from the level 10 shark demon, His rotating body had stopped completely. Sha Tongtian's eyes shone with astonishment. Earlier on, he had suspected that the other party was using some sort of special treasure. But by the looks of it, this fellow was just using his physical body to fight. He could clearly feel that the terrifying brute force of the fist on the axe, as well as the force of the collision with the silver-headed hammer, had exceeded 1,000,000 kilograms. Only those ancient demonic beasts that could not transform could achieve such terrifying physical strength at the level 10 level. So what if his physical strength is strong? Surrounded by the silver-headed sharks, even that level 10 dragon whale will die. As if confirming Sha Tongtian's thoughts, 7 thick blue spiritual lights suddenly flashed in the sea around Lu Kuan, directly hitting the tiny human body. Before the crater in the sea could recover, an even more astonishing wave of energy exploded. A dazzling icy blue light lit up, and an extremely rich frigid power of water erupted. Then, 9 spiritual lights shot out. Apart from Sha Tongtian's 2 weapons, the other 7 spiritual lights were silver, round-headed axes. They fell into the hands of the 7-headed shark demons not far away. They had unknowingly transformed into human form. The crater in the sea turned into an ice cave, and the rolling waves in the surroundings were also frozen, turning into floating ice that emitted a shocking chill. In the middle of the crater, there was an ice ball that was about 10 feet in diameter, and there was a human figure inside. These shark demons were all above the transformation level. Apart from the initial shock, they quickly entered battle mode. They realized that the most frightening thing about this terrifying human was his speed in the sea. He could even dodge the attacks of their boss. Hence, they decided to add a large amount of frigid power of water to their attacks. Although the power of the water attribute Nascent Soul was weaker than the mutated ice attribute, it was not much weaker. These 7 transformed shark demons, including 2 level 9 existences, took advantage of the fact that Lu Kuan was entangled with Sha Tongtian to launch their attacks at the same time, hitting the enemy in one fell swoop. Lazy to listen even though there was no Yuan Qi of heaven and earth, with so much frigid power of water gathered together, even a powerful level 10 demonic beast would not dare to take it head-on. Both sides exchanged several blows. Although it seemed complicated, it actually happened in the blink of an eye. Sha Tongtian had already arrived outside of the ice ball. He raised the weapons in his hands and poured his demonic spiritual energy into them rapidly. He suddenly realized that the faint blue halo on the silver round axe seemed to have dimmed slightly. Only when he sensed it with his consciousness did he realize that this life weapon had been slightly damaged. The killing intent in Sha Tongtian's eyes intensified. He raised his demonic spiritual energy to the maximum. At the same time, the muscles on his arms bulged and intertwined as he poured all his strength into the 2 weapons. He looked down from above and smashed them down at the ice ball. At the same time, streaks of icy blue spiritual light surged out from the ice ball and coiled around the 2 weapons. The shark demons in the distance controlled the remaining frigid power of water and added it to Sha Tongtian's weapons. Their opponent's physical strength was strong, and relatively speaking, his physical defense was not weak. As demonic cultivators, they naturally understood this. Although these shark demons did not have time to fly over, they still controlled the frigid power of water. The combined power of everyone was all concentrated on Sha Tongtian's terrifying weapons. They wanted to take advantage of the fact that their opponent was restricted to kill him in one fell swoop. Bang! But just as Sha Tongtian's weapons were about to hit the ice ball, some kind of violent energy surged out from the inside of the ice ball and exploded into pieces. Amidst the countless ice shards, an astonishing silver light shone. An unimaginable aura of magic treasures soared into the sky. It felt as if hundreds of magic treasures of the mature stage were being activated at the same time. A silver figure shot out at an incomparably fast speed and arrived in front of Sha Tongtian in the blink of an eye. The surrounding air seemed to be unable to bear such a terrifying speed, and there were bursts of unbearable sonic booms. Sha Tongtian's eyes widened. This speed was several times faster than when he was in the sea. Before he could react, he felt his wrists being pressed down by an iron hoop. In addition to the terrifying force of more than 1,000,000 Jin, there was also the impact of countless magic treasures of the mature stage. For a moment, not only were his arms restrained, but his entire body was also sent flying. At this time, Sha Tongtian suddenly felt several terrifying energies rapidly brewing in the fog behind him, causing the gray skin on his back to wrinkle. This kind of power was at least 2 great cultivators attacking at the same time. He instantly understood that the target of this cunning human was not the Class 8 shark demons, but him, the Class 10 monster beast. Sha Tongtian's eyes were bloodshot. In this life and death situation, the Class 10 monster core in his body began to revolve wildly. An incomparably rich power of frigid water gushed out. Although the weapons in his hands could not be slashed out, the spiritual light inside could still attack. 2 blue halos jumped out of the weapons and blasted towards the opponent's head. Lu Kuan had only attracted a small portion of the yuan qi of heaven and earth. The Class 10 monster beast was attacking without any regard for its power, causing him to feel a trace of danger. His eyes were filled with madness and arrogance. So what? Lu Kuan's muscles tensed up. He didn't know if it was because he had sensed the danger, but the thick blood essence in his body began to boil. Almost all of it surged into his muscles, and his flesh and blood turned into a hard silver armor. In the next moment, he was enveloped by the rich power of frigid water and a faint blue halo. Ah! Lu Kuan let out a wild roar. It was unknown whether it was out of pain or insanity. The hair on his sinister-looking arms instantly swelled and grew black hair. Sha Tongtian's thick wrists were squeezed out of shape. During this short moment of delay, all kinds of rich spiritual lights shot down from the mist above. Bringing with them a monstrous power, they ruthlessly blasted Sha Tongtian's smooth gray back. Boom! A blazing sun like spiritual light suddenly exploded. The frozen seawater shattered inch by inch. The seawater within a radius of several hundred feet evaporated into thin air. Waves of several hundred feet high surged in all directions. The terrifying residual power even dispersed a large area of the mist nearby, spilling in a patch of sunlight. A man with a broken body floated silently in midair. The sunlight shone on his empty skull. The flesh and blood on his body were fragmented, as if he had been executed by 1,000 cuts. Chapter 1022. All of a sudden, a mini-shark flew out of the lifeless body with a dim blue demon core in its arms. However, no matter how far it flew, it was enveloped by an invisible force. The mini-shark was startled. Then, a look of madness flashed across its small eyes. An astonishing amount of courage exploded, and a huge blue halo of light burst out. The force that bound it quickly dissipated. Under the cover of the blue spirit light, the mini-shark flew hundreds of feet away in the blink of an eye. In order to protect its soul and demon core, it directly detonated a small portion of its courage. Not only did it break free, its speed also increased by several times. It was comparable to the teleportation of a nascent soul cultivator. With a few flashes, it flew to the nearby shark demons and disappeared into the slightly open mouth of a 9th-grade shark demon. The 7 shark demons were still standing on the sea in a daze. They didn't dare to believe their eyes. Just a moment ago, they had worked together to kill the enemy, but in the blink of an eye, the tables had turned. Their clan leader, the Silverhead Shark Clan, one of the top 5 10th-grade experts of the sea race, died just like that. Sha Tongtian's weak voice rang out in the mind of the 9th-grade shark demon. Quick run! The Kuei Cow King is colluding with human cultivators. There are 3 of them here. At the end, Sha Tongtian's voice was almost inaudible. It was as if even the aura of his soul had disappeared. The 9th-grade shark demon's expression became incomparably terrified. He roared, "What are you daydreaming about? Run!" But at this moment, he suddenly realized that a white, misty black and white spirit light surged out of the sea behind him. It emitted a strong restrictive force that stretched for hundreds of feet and blocked their escape route. In the empty seawater nearby, two aggressive demonic cultivators had appeared out of nowhere. One of them was a muscular, lion-like demonic cultivator in golden armor. The golden hair on his head fell off, turning into hundreds of thin, long golden needles. With an extremely sharp aura, they shot towards the 5/8 grade shark demons. The other one was a badger-shaped demonic beast. Its black hair shone brightly in the water. Its speed was astonishing. It was like a nimble seal. The seawater couldn't stop its lithe body at all. In the blink of an eye, it closed in on the two 9th grade silverhead sharks. The sharp claws in its hands danced quickly, and a golden claw shadow enveloped the front. Damn it, it's the Golden Lion King and Badger 6. Second sister, go over there and help. I'll block Badger 6 for now. The Class 9 shark demon's axe flashed with blue light and met Badger 6's claws. At the same time, the silver lump on its head shot out a blue ball of spirit light that emitted an extremely cold aura. Badger 6's eyes flashed with an ominous glint. He didn't care about the incoming hatchet. The sharp claws on his right hand shone with an even more dazzling golden light. He dodged the hatchet and ruthlessly clawed at the chest of the 9th rank shark demon. You lunatic who doesn't want to live anymore. The level 9 shark monster cursed. The ferocious badger beast was a powerful metal attribute demonic beast. He didn't dare to take its attack head on. The round-headed axe didn't continue to attack. Instead, it chopped down on the golden claw. The power of frigid water and the sharpness of the claw intertwined, and an intense aura burst out. The ice blue ball of light directly hit Badger 6, and a rich, frigid water aura spread out, turning the surrounding seawater into ice. Badger 6 seemed to have expected this situation. Countless black steel hairs grew out of his originally soft black fur, and a sharp aura lingered on them. He curled up his body, buried his head in his abdomen, and quickly spun forward. This spinning steel ball not only scattered the frigid water aura, but it also shattered the surrounding seawater. It didn't lose any momentum and continued to charge at the level 9 shark demon. The shark demon's expression sank. He pressed the hatchet against his forehead, and an even more profound aura surged out from the silver lump on his head. Then, he held the hatchet with both hands and slashed forward. An ice blue light shot out from the hatchet, and as if it had teleported, it hit Badger 6's curled-up body. An even more turbulent frigid water aura surged out, turning Badger 6 and the surrounding seawater into ice. But soon, cracks appeared on the ice, and it was clear that it wouldn't be able to hold on for long. The level 9 shark demon had no desire to continue fighting. The ferocious badger beast's fighting strength was astonishing. Even if he was in the sea, he might not necessarily be able to defeat it in a one-on-one fight. Not to mention, there were still 2 lights in the distance that made his heart palpitate. But just as he turned to flee, 3 golden sword lights appeared out of thin air and blasted towards him. The shark demon hurriedly raised his hatchet to block them. Upon closer inspection, he discovered that they were 3-meter-long golden claws. It turned out that Badger 6 had hidden these claws in the surrounding seawater at some unknown time. The ice shattered, and the ferocious badger beast broke free. The level 9 shark demon had no choice but to continue fighting. Not far away, a young man stood next to the Golden Lion King. It was Falling Cloud Valley's Han Feng. A miniature, mountain-like magic treasure floated above his hand. An incomparably heavy aura surged from it, and rays of yellow light shot out, turning into countless 3-meter-long stone spikes. These stone spikes were easily shattered by the shark demon's hatchet or the power of ice. However, the shattered stone spikes still flickered with light, and their power didn't diminish. The Golden Lion King and Han Feng didn't intend to kill this group of shark demons. The golden needles and stone spikes they used surrounded the 5-level 8 shark demons, preventing them from escaping. On the other side, the level Nine-Shark Demon held her life-bound hatchet with an unsightly expression. In front of her was a white-haired old man with a ruddy complexion, Taoist Baiyun of the Tao E school. He held a jade scepter flickering with white light in his hand, and he constantly shot out balls of white light, blocking her path. The ferocious woman constantly swung her hatchet, but although her attacks scattered the white light, new white light would replace them. It was continuous, blocking her in place. Every time the white light dispersed, Taoist Baiyun's face would turn slightly pale. Clearly, it wasn't easy to block the attacks of level 9 monsters. Although he couldn't take the initiative to attack, he still managed to keep his opponent busy. In the time it took for the two sides to tangle, the two astonishing streaks of light in the distance had already arrived above the sea. The light dispersed, revealing the figures of a human and a demon. It was the Kuei Ox King and Taoist Tao E. The Kuei Ox King's appearance was somewhat different from before. Apart from his single leg, his 4 limbs and appearance were completely the same as a human's. The ox hooves on his hands and leg had disappeared as well. However, 2 small and 1 large black square seals appeared before him. They flickered with purple lightning, and their auras were extremely profound. Taoist Tao E looked at the battle below. He stretched out his hands, and 2 bone-colored bracelets flew out from his wrists, shooting towards the level 8 silverhead sharks. In the process of flying, the pair of bracelets fused together at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into a large iron ring with a diameter of 1 meter. It stopped above the group of shark demons, and then 5 ring-shaped spiritual lights with white halos descended. These spirit rings appeared around the level 8 demon cultivators as if they had teleported. They locked their bodies, and then these demon cultivators were drowned by the sky, full of golden needles and stone thorns. The Kuei Ox King didn't stay idle either. The 3 black square seals in front of him, under the influence of his vigorous demon spiritual power, transformed into 3 meteorites with lightning coiling around them, and blasted towards the 2 level 9 shark demons. Taoist Baiyun's face lit up with joy. The jade scepter in his hand instantly spat out a dozen incomparably dense white clouds, enveloping the ferocious woman's burly body. Then a black square seal the size of a millstone, flashing with dense lightning, blasted into her body. As for the other level, 9 shark demon, there were already dozens of claw marks on its glossy gray skin. Although a trace of blood flowed from the corner of the ferocious badger's mouth, for such a fierce beast, the more injured it was, the more explosive its power would be. The phantom claws, flashing with golden light, had completely suppressed the opponent. And at this moment, the Kuei Ox King's other 2 black square seals, transformed from his hooves, blasted towards the shark demon's back. In this moment of life and death, the level 9 shark demon's eyes flashed with a hint of struggle. Then, a blue demon core was spat out. An intense blue light flashed, and the demon core exploded with a loud bang. The self-destruction of a level 9 demon core was astonishing. Not only did it blow up the black square seals, it also forced the ferocious badger to retreat. Strangely, the level 9 shark demon didn't die after losing its demon core. Instead, a level 10 demon spiritual power aura gushed out from its body. Its body transformed into an astonishing blue light and shot towards the coral island. The old shark isn't dead yet. The Kuei Ox King's face darkened. The 2 black square seals flashed with lightning and directly chased after the shark demon. Although the shark demon's speed in the sea was astonishing, he could see that its destination was the coral island. The black square seals chased after the shark demon on the surface of the sea, and chased after it just as it stepped onto the coral island. But at this moment, an incomparably quiet coral leaf on the coral island suddenly exploded. An incomparably thick multicolored body, exuding a primordial aura, soared into the sky from the ground. Its bloody mouth opened wide and bit towards the black square seals. Chapter 1023. The Kauai Cow King felt that the black square seal formed by his hooves was subjected to a terrifying devouring force, and the power of thunder and lightning within was rapidly dissipating. His face darkened, and the demonic spiritual energy in his body circulated rapidly. The thunder and lightning within the two black square seals burst into a purple halo, and then with a flash, he appeared outside the coral island. And that thick, colorful body quickly fell back to the ground, and once again turned into a coral bush, as if it had never appeared. And that shark demon flashed with light, and directly entered the restriction in the center of the coral island. What demonic beast is that? Most of Dao Yi's energy was focused on the shark demon below, and he only saw a trace of a shadow, like some kind of colorful giant snake. The Kauai Cow King raised his eyebrows and said, "Dao Yi, let's destroy these shark demons first." Okay. As the Kauai Cow King and Dao Yi joined the battle, these demonic beasts that were surrounded were quickly wiped out, and even their souls did not escape. In the time it took to eat a meal, everyone gathered outside the coral island, and while they recovered their spiritual energy, they communicated with each other. At this time, Lu Kuan's body had already recovered, and his face was ruddy. His body exuded a strange pressure, and there was no sign of injury at all. His eyes emitted a golden light, and he was looking at the coral island in front of him. He shook his head and said, "The underground is full of colorful glass-like rocks, and there doesn't seem to be any hidden creatures. Lu can't even detect the aura of life." Lu Kuan's pupils flashed with a hint of surprise. He had already used the golden eye magical ability without reservation, and indeed did not find any signs of the existence of any creatures. He had seen that thick figure before, but now he could not detect it. "Dao, ye spiritual master said, although I was far away, I could still feel that the strange demon beast was using an extremely rare devouring power. This kind of metal attribute, mutated magical power, can even devour the 5 elements spiritual power that is 1 level higher. Brother Cow, you felt it more clearly. I wonder what level this devouring force is." The Kauai Cow King glanced at the black square seal on his hands. His eyes flashed with a complicated look as he said, "If I had not used the secret lightning escape technique in time, this pair of innate ox hooves would not have been able to escape. This devouring power is at least at the nascent soul stage. As for what kind of demonic beast this is, although I have some idea, I dare not make wild guesses. I still need to test it. The energy shield is already spread here. We have to hurry." Everyone could not help but turn their heads back. In the fierce battle, just now, the fog array was broken and the sky outside. In the visible area, a rich light blue halo spread towards them. Han Feng coughed softly and said, "I have a magic treasure that should be able to restrain the devouring power. Why don't I test it out?" Daoist Dao, he raised his eyebrows and cupped his fists. "Then I'll have to trouble Brother Han." Han Feng waved his hand, and a pale yellow gourd appeared in front of him. The gourd exuded a strong aura of the earth attribute. In the pitch-black hole of the gourd, there was a strong wave of cold, Yin energy. His hands flashed, and several rays of light shot out of the gourd. An endless stream of yellow sand sprayed out of the gourd. Daoist Dao Yi's eyes narrowed. He felt an extremely cold aura from the grains of sand. Just by using his divine sense, he felt uncomfortable. After discovering this, he was not shocked but happy. There was a flash of anticipation in his eyes. As Han Feng cast one spell after another, the sand and dust that blotted out the sky rushed towards the coral island. Everyone enlarged their eyes and divine sense to observe carefully. Rumble, the entire coral island shook, and a multicolored, thick body soared into the sky. Everyone could clearly see the appearance of the creature in front of them. It was a long creature as thick as a millstone. On its skin, they could vaguely make out the division lines of its limbs. It was a ferocious body like a centipede, but unlike a centipede, this strange insect did not have short legs. The front part of the body that emerged from the ground was a deformed mouth part with coral tentacles. It looked like the mouth of an earthworm that had been enlarged thousands of times. Inside the mouth, A pile of dense barbed teeth could be vaguely seen. As far as everyone's eyes could see, there were 20 to 30 strange insects. Their ferocious mouth parts were swirling with dark, golden vortexes. The surrounding yellow sand could not resist at all and was swallowed by these strange insects. Then, they turned back at lightning speed and became quiet corals again. Han Feng's expression was solemn. He continued to control the gourd in front of him. The magic power in his body circulated endlessly. The gourd constantly flashed with black and yellow light. But after several breaths, the treasure completely dimmed as if it had suffered heavy damage. Han Feng was stunned. He then said in disbelief, "This demon insect completely swallowed the heavy soul's sand. How is this possible?" "Dao," he said, "Brother Han, this yellow sand is a bit like the ghost spirit sex Loapa's sand." Han Feng repeatedly looked at the gourd in his hand and put it away. His expression was somewhat unsightly. "Brother Dao, he is truly knowledgeable. This is the heavy soul sand refined by my sect." "Heavy soul sand?" Han Feng said, "My sect added many earth attribute materials on top of the Loapa sand and refined it with a secret technique. In addition to containing Yin spirit power, it also has powerful earth attribute abilities." The seemingly tiny grains of sand contain the power of heavy earth. After being activated, each grain of sand can weigh 5 kilograms within 2 hours. That one grain of sand just now weighed at least 2 to 3 million kilograms. Furthermore, the power of the dark souls inside has the powerful ability to corrupt magical treasures and souls. These are all abilities that the devouring power can't deal with, but Han Feng's eyes were filled with confusion. He was willing to test it out because he had this strange treasure. But who would have thought that not only did he not harm the other party, but more than half of the treasures he had carefully refined were destroyed. He had spent a lot of effort to make so much heavy soul sand. Doubt he did not have the intention to gloat. His expression was also heavy. He knew the weakness of the mutated metal attribute abilities like the devouring power. The situation before him also made him feel incredulous. At this moment, he saw that the Kuei Cow King's expression was somewhat strange. He could not help but ask, "Brother Cow, can you tell what kind of demon this is?" The Kuei Cow King took a deep breath and said slowly, "If I'm not wrong, this is a strange insect from ancient times, the spirit-swallowing bug. Judging from the waves of the devouring power, it has already entered the state of maturity." Spirit-swallowing bug? The immortal cultivators were confused, but the Golden Lion King was in disbelief. A mature spirit-swallowing bug? Impossible. In ancient times, these ferocious insects were already wiped out. How could they continue to exist? "Dao," he asked, "Brother Cow, what kind of creature is this spirit-swallowing bug?" The Kuei Cow King's expression was not good. "At first, I only had some guesses. But just now, Brother Han's heavy soul sand did not work on it. That's why I'm sure it's this kind of strange insect. In ancient times, the spirit-swallowing bug was also this kind of strange insect with long limbs. But the biggest difference was the color of its skin. The ancient spirit-swallowing bug was grayish-black, like rocks and mud. But the one in front of us is colorful. According to the information in the bloodline memory, this insect used to be a race of dark insects. It liked to devour all kinds of flesh and blood. But after entering the immortal cultivation world, under the intertwining of spiritual chi and demonic chi, it mutated and became a spirit-swallowing bug. Other than being good at concealment, the most frightening thing about it is its strange devouring power. The 5 elements of spiritual energy, demonic spiritual energy, and Coldine energy are all within the range of its devouring power. There is almost nothing that it cannot devour. But not long after this strange insect appeared, it was destroyed by everyone. The Yin Qi in the heavy soul sand was also developed from Yin Qi. Naturally, it could be devoured. Dao Yi's expression was ugly. Judging from the situation just now, every coral bush is a spirit-swallowing bug. There are hundreds of them. If every one of them has the same devouring power as before, then it's too scary. The Kuei Cow King shook his head. This kind of strange insect with terrifying powers also has a weakness. There's a limit to the amount of energy it can devour. It can only be activated again after a period of time. In other words, as long as we exhaust the devouring power of these hundreds of spirit-swallowing bugs, we can enter the island. Otherwise, facing so much devouring power with our physical bodies, I'm afraid only Master Lu can safely retreat. After hearing the Kuei Cow King's words, everyone fell silent. The primordial chi shield had spread to this place. In addition to the battle, just now, the demonic turtle had obviously noticed them, but he did not show himself. Clearly, he was trying his best to break through the bottleneck. These hundreds of spirit-swallowing bugs were enough to hold them off for a long time. Chapter 1024. Just when everyone was at their wits' end, the coral shrubs on the island suddenly trembled, and a strong, devouring power rolled. Everyone's expression changed. But the next moment, the coral island fell silent again. They looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. Chun Mingzhu suddenly thought of something, and his expression changed. Wait, something is wrong. Dao, he asked. What did Pavilion Master Chen find? Chun Mingzhu touched his chin and said, if the devouring power of each spirit-swallowing insect is at the nascent soul level, then how are these hundreds of strange insects controlled? Kuei Cow King, does the demon clan have such a secret technique to control insects? Kuei Cow King was stunned and murmured, Pavilion Master Chun is right. To control hundreds of mature spirit-swallowing insects requires an amazing amount of divine sense. How can the demon clan have such a secret technique? He then looked at Dao Yi. Chu's Gu poison sect seems to be proficient in controlling insects. Do you think this is possible? Dao Yi also reacted. He pondered for a moment and said, fellow Taoist Qian of the Gu poison sect has a nascent soul-level Gu poison sect, and I just happened to communicate with him. Although the demonic insect's divine sense is weak, if it is commanded to fight, it will continue to absorb the divine sense of the cultivator. I once asked out of curiosity, if there are dozens of such spiritual insects, won't one be invincible in the same level? But fellow Taoist Qian said that with his early nascent soul-level cultivation, he can control at most 3 nascent soul-level spiritual insects to fight. If there are more, his divine sense will be sucked dry and his soul will be damaged. Even if fellow Taoist Qian has some reservations with me, an early nascent soul-level cultivator can't control more than 5. From this, it could be inferred that a late nascent soul-level cultivator can barely control a dozen of such demonic insects. At this point, Dao, he looked at the island in front and said slowly, in other words, to control hundreds of spirit-swallowing insects, not to mention late nascent soul-level cultivators. Even soul formation-level cultivators can't do it, not to mention the old turtle is in the middle of a breakthrough. These spirit-swallowing insects are acting on instinct. After coming to this conclusion, everyone looked a lot more spirited. However, Han Feng frowned and said, but when that level 9 shark demon entered the coral island, the spirit-devouring insects didn't intercept it. Could it be that it used some kind of method to conceal its presence from the spirit-devouring insects? Dao, he thought for a while and said, the magical powers of the spirit-swallowing worms here may be similar to the ancient spirit worms mentioned by the Kuei Cow King, but their appearance is very different. Obviously, they have lived in the sea for a long time. If the sea tribe knows their weaknesses or preferences, they should be able to lure them. The Kuei Cow King looked at the coral island in front of him and said in deep thought, demonic insects and demons have 2 different cultivation systems. They both cultivate instinctively, and it is very difficult for them to gain intelligence. Their supernatural powers are not passed down in their bloodlines, but are passed down from generation to generation. This group of spirit-swallowing worms looks like some kind of sea worms. It's very likely that the ancient spirit-swallowing worms had mated with some kind of sea worm and laid eggs. That's how they've survived until now. Taoist Dao, East Side. It's a pity that fellow Taoist Qian of the venomous poison sect is not here. Otherwise, he could investigate the habits of these colorful spirit-swallowing worms and try to lure them away. None of them understood the way of insect taming, so they had no idea how to deal with these spirit worms with such a terrifying, devouring power. Could it be that they really had to launch an endless stream of spells to deplete their devouring power? If they used up too much of their magic power, how could they deal with the peak level 10 turtle demon? At this time, Lu Kuan, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly said, "Even the Kuei Cow King has never heard of such demonic insects of the sea tribe. This means that they are very few in number, which means that their reproductive ability is very weak." The Kuei Cow King nodded and said, "The greatest weakness of these powerful demonic insects is their reproduction." Lu Kuan said thoughtfully, "In ancient times, they belonged to the underworld insect tribe. Later, they mutated under the influence of demonic qi and spiritual qi. Since they can reproduce for tens of thousands of years, there should be places in the outer sea where demonic qi and yin qi are rich." Hearing this, the Kuei Cow King shook his head and said, "The spiritual qi in the outer sea is pure. There's no demonic qi at all, let alone yin qi. Wait, could it be the Great Whirlpool?" His expression changed. "The Great Whirlpool?" Lu Kuan asked curiously. The Kuei Cow King said slowly, "At the end of the outer sea, there's a huge underwater whirlpool. It's densely covered with spatial cracks. It's said that it was a battlefield in ancient times. Besides the remnants of demonic qi, there's also yin qi. These spirit-devouring insects probably came from there." The Tao spiritual master raised his eyebrows and said, "Why does Master Lu ask about its origin? Could it be that there's a solution?" Lu Kuan said calmly, "Lu once dealt with the high-level underworld insects of the abyss of death. These underworld insects survive in the immortal realm. Besides reproducing, it's even harder for them to cultivate. They have to absorb dense yin qi. Lu killed a peak level 9 underworld insect by chance. If these spirit-devouring insects act on instinct, maybe the flesh of the high-level underworld insect can lure them out." Everyone was pleasantly surprised. Although they were the top existences of the immortal cultivators and the demon clan, they had heard a little about the underworld insects of ancient times. They didn't expect Master Lu to have killed a peak level 9 underworld insect. The Tao spiritual master exclaimed, "I only heard from a good friend that nascent soul stage underworld insects live in the abyss of death in the south region of the kingdom of Qi. I didn't expect there to be a peak level 9 underworld insect." Lu Kuan looked hesitant and said, "Lu can't be sure if the aura of a peak level 9 underworld insect can lure these spirit-devouring insects out. We're pressed for time. Master Lu, go ahead and give it a try." Lu Kuan nodded and thought for a moment. His body flashed and turned into a stream of light. He sped across the sea and came to the other side of the coral island. A thick silver light gushed out of his hands, and there was a small thing inside. As soon as he finished these actions, the coral island trembled violently. A strong devouring force surged, and coral reefs burst out of the soil. Those thick and ferocious insect shadows all soared into the sky, as if they had found delicious food. More than 300 ferocious, colorful insects rushed out of the ground. Each spirit-devouring insect was 300 feet long. Hundreds of them gathered together like a hill. The visual impact was extremely strong. These chilling spirit-devouring insects scuttled quickly and came to the other side of the coral island in the blink of an eye. They kept shooting into the sky, but their length was limited. Their mouthparts could reach a height of 300 feet at most. It seemed that these spirit-devouring insects couldn't fly. Lu Kuan was slightly stunned. He didn't expect this situation, but he reacted quickly. His body fell into the sea and swam into the distance. Those spirit-devouring insects didn't hesitate. They all plunged into the sea and chased after him at a very fast speed like a thick sea snake. Taoist Tao, he was overjoyed. While Lu Kuan was within the range of his divine sense, he immediately transmitted his voice. "Master Lu, please lead the spirit-devouring insects further away. We'll use the 10,000 miles talisman to keep in touch." Then he looked dignified and said to the others, "Everyone, after breaking the last restriction, will have to face the peak of the 10th level monster beast. It's at the critical moment of breaking through the bottleneck. We have a great chance of winning." Speaking of this, he looked at Chun Mingzhu and Han Feng and said, "After the matter is done, this old man can agree to both of your conditions. I hope Pavilion Master Chun and fellow Taoist Han will do their best to help." Han Feng and Chun Mingzhu showed a hint of joy and nodded. Everyone carefully probed with their divine sense. The corals on the ground had all disappeared, leaving behind a cave of about 10 feet in size. After finding no danger, they flew to the center of the island. Chapter 1025. Hundreds of long worms with colorful limbs wriggled their bodies and swam on the vast sea surface. They opened their mouths ferociously and crazily swallowed the seawater in front of them. Then, they spat out the water from their tails, stirring up turbulent splashes at an extremely fast speed. In front of this group of insects, Lu Kuan not only urged the flying power of the bone treasure, but also used his body to spiral and accelerate, keeping a certain distance from the insects. His divine sense scanned the group of spirit-swallowing insects behind him while looking at the white object in his palm. This was an octagonal crystal. Each side was triangular. It was the nether insect sacred artifact. When he heard that the spirit-swallowing insects were mutated from a nether insect clan, he thought of this object. Back then, 2 powerful nether insects sneaked into the Yuan secret realm for this little thing. Even the low-level nether flying ants he subdued were attracted by the nether insect sacred artifact. Previously, Lu Kuan quietly released a little aura from the storage space while others were thinking about countermeasures. As a result, the spirit-swallowing insects on the coral island were boiling. If he hadn't put away in time, the spirit-swallowing insects would have rushed towards them. Later, when Han Feng was probing, Lu Kuan also urged the Golden Eye's magical ability. Although the spirit-swallowing insects were hiding underground, he couldn't see anything, but when they urged the power of devouring, he found that in addition to the cold power in their bodies, there was also a mixture of magical power and spiritual power. Their aura was very strange. This immediately aroused Lu Kuan's interest. When he broke through to the bone transformation stage, in addition to the fusion of magical power and the 5 elements spiritual power, in order to succeed in self-refining, he also swallowed the Qi and Blood Underworld demonic pill. His magical energy was a combination of many kinds of energy, which was comparable to the spirit-swallowing insects. Moreover, Lu Kuan had always wanted to study high-level insects. He already had some understanding of the monster clan, and could extract the unique life essence from the flesh and blood of transformed monsters. But the group of insects behind him was different from the monster clan. They were a unique creature. Even if they entered the 8th level or above, they still maintained their original form and could not transform. According to Lu Kuan's judgment, the key reason why they could not transform was that they did not have a spine. They were not vertebrates. After the demons transformed, they relied on their spines to circulate their life force. The cultivation method of life force that he had developed could not be separated from the spine. Just by relying on the power of cold, how did these insects improve their physical strength? The nether scorpion he had encountered in the Yuan secret realm had a very hard shell. Even its soft abdomen had been able to withstand his heaven hammer. He had already discovered that the coldine energy was extremely helpful to the cultivation of low-level body cultivators. The head second-generation disciple of the body refining pavilion, Li Qianfeng, had his body transformed by the power of coldine when he was immortal. His cultivation speed of the Diamond Sutra had greatly increased. Then, could a high-level body cultivator use the power of coldine? Lu Kuan proposed to lure these spirit-swallowing bugs and take the opportunity to capture some for research. Why is there an energy shield coming from the direction of the inland sea? Lu Kuan led the spirit-swallowing bugs behind him and flew towards the inland sea. After flying for hundreds of miles, he discovered that in the distant sky, there was a layer of light blue halo approaching from afar. He could not help but activate the golden eye to look at the distant horizon by the sea. He vaguely saw 3 white spirit chi pillars soaring into the sky. The situation was exactly the same as in the Shiyuan state. The Thousand Tides formation is also set up in the inland sea. Why haven't I heard about it from Immortal Dao E? Lu Kuan looked a little surprised, but then he thought, that's not right. The immortal cultivators of the Chu state could not have entered the inland sea so quickly. The land demons are also in the Shiyuan state. Could it be the Flood Dragon tribe's doing? Immortal Dao E mentioned that the senior of the spirit transformation sect had divided the Sea tribe. No wonder the Kuei Ox King knew about the changes in the Thousand Tides formation. It is very likely that the Flood Dragon tribe had revealed it to him. Will that Dragon King come out of seclusion? Lu Kuan's face changed. He did not think that he had the power to fight against the existence of the soul formation stage. I can't lure it too far away. I have to act immediately. If I delay, there will be changes. With a flash of spiritual light in Lu Kuan's hand, the sacred relic of the nether insects was put away. After the spirit-swallowing bugs could not sense the sacred relic of the nether insects, they immediately slowed down and seemed to be a little confused. But then, Lu Kuan felt goosebumps appear on his skin. He felt as if there was a knife on his back. An extremely turbulent spiritual sense pressure blasted into his sea of consciousness. Ah! Lu Kuan screamed in pain and held his head. It seemed that his spiritual sense had been severely injured. The spirit-swallowing bugs, who were hesitating, continued to swim. Although they did not sense the sacred relic of the nether insects, they seemed to know that it was in Lu Kuan's hands. The spirit-swallowing bugs swam very fast, and the distance between them was not particularly far. They caught up with Lu Kuan in about 10 breaths. However, they did not attack immediately. Instead, they surrounded him. Lu Kuan gradually recovered from the pain. Looking at the situation around him, he revealed a look of horror. He was about to fly up into the sky, but the terrifying spiritual sense came again. He screamed again and fell from the sky. At this moment, a relatively thin and slender bug jumped out of the spirit-swallowing bugs. It seemed to be only 10 feet long, and its waist was only half the size of the other bugs. But to the human clan, it was also a huge monster. Its ferocious mouth opened, and there was a dark golden vortex inside. It surged with a more profound, devouring power and swallowed Lu Kuan in one gulp. Then, at the end of the small spirit-swallowing bug's mouth, near the coral tentacles, 2 small eyes appeared. They exuded a human-like excitement. But in the next moment, the eyes suddenly widened, as if they had discovered something incredible. The ferocious mouth opened again, and the long segmented body wriggled rapidly, as if it wanted to spit something out. Ear-piercing screeches came out of the small spirit-swallowing bug's mouth, accompanied by a terrifying spiritual sense power. A tyrannical spiritual sense storm surged. The small spirit-swallowing bug did not struggle for long before a dazzling silver light burst out 30 feet behind its mouth. A large amount of colorful flesh and blood burst open. As if it had suffered a fatal attack, its life aura quickly faded. A silver figure appeared on the sea. It was Lu Kuan. A silver vortex remained on his fingertips, and a strong, penetrating power lingered on it. Looking at the lifeless body of the spirit-swallowing bug, Lu Kuan sneered. He waved one hand and put it into the storage space. I didn't expect there to be a queen bug. With such a strong spiritual sense, except for the lack of willpower, it's almost at the apotheosis realm. Unfortunately, it met me. Lu Kuan had dealt with a lot of nether bugs, mainly divided into 2 types. One was a powerful individual, such as the nether scorpion he encountered in the Yuan secret realm, and a silver-armored corpse mutated from the body of a human cultivator, like serene. They all had a common characteristic, which was that their individual strength was similar to, or even several times stronger than cultivators of the same level. As for the other type, it was similar to a swarm of bugs, such as the nether-flying ants he encountered in the Land of Death and the devouring demon bees he encountered in the Yuan Secret Realm. The characteristic of this kind of demonic bug was that its individual strength was limited, but if it formed a group, it could exert a terrifying power. In Lu Kuan's view, the spirit-swallowing bug was this kind of demonic bug. This kind of demonic bug was basically in the form of instinct and had very low intelligence. However, if it acted in a group, then it was like the devouring demon bees. There was a queen bug among them. When he felt the terrifying power of the divine sense, he immediately thought of the queen bug. He immediately used the divine sense concealment technique and pretended to be severely injured. As expected, he lured the bug. The insides of the spirit-swallowing bug were the same as the demonic race, much more fragile. Lu Kuan used the Golden Eye super ability to find the brain-like organ in its body and killed it in one fell swoop. As if sensing the death of the queen bug, the surrounding spirit-swallowing bugs screeched angrily. One by one, their ferocious mouth parts all pointed at Lu Kuan, and countless streams of devouring power shot up into the sky. Lu Kuan snorted coldly, turned into a ball of silver light, and rushed into the mouth of the spirit-swallowing bug. After a few breaths, the flesh of the spirit-swallowing bug ruptured, and its breath of life disappeared without a trace. Then he rushed to the next spirit-swallowing bug. The reason why the Kuei, Cow King, and the others had a headache was because of the devouring power. It could devour spiritual power of various attributes, including demonic spiritual power, 5-element spiritual power, demonic power, and chilling power. But Lu Kuan was different. The energy of the skeletal transformation stage body cultivator had completely formed a new system. The strange devouring power could not absorb the energy in his body at all. Moreover, the devouring power of the spirit-swallowing bug only had a suction force of 3 to 400,000 pounds. It could not shake Lu Kuan's powerful physical origin power. Next, Lu Kuan's figure moved, as if he was slaughtering chickens and dogs. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, he had killed more than 10 spirit-swallowing bugs. Just as he entered the body of a bug, the spirit-swallowing bug beside him swelled up, opened its huge mouth part, and directly swallowed it. Then the surrounding spirit-swallowing bugs swallowed one after another. Their bodies seemed to be able to temporarily expand. The 10 spirit-swallowing bugs kept swallowing and turned into a deformed worm of 7 to 8 feet thick. Its body trembled slightly, as if there was something terrible struggling inside. At this time, all the remaining spirit-swallowing bugs, as if they had received some kind of order, swam to the bottom of the sea and disappeared directly into the seabed. After a while, the deformed worm on the surface of the sea completely exploded, and Lu Kuan's figure reappeared. He looked at the empty bottom of the sea and said in surprise, "The queen bug is not dead." After discovering that it was restrained by me, it immediately escaped. Its spiritual intelligence is very high. Forget it, these gains are barely enough. Let's deal with that old demon turtle as soon as possible. If the people of the Flood Dragon tribe come, it will be troublesome. Chapter 10:26. A group of colorful spirit-swallowing insects quietly lurked in the depths of the seabed, not revealing any aura. Even if a cultivator scanned with his divine sense, he would only think that these were ordinary seabed rocks. After an unknown period of time, a faint divine sense fluctuation gushed out from the swarm of insects. A glazed coral bush slowly emerged from the seabed soil, and at the end of the bush, a pair of small eyes appeared. The pair of small eyes looked around nervously, as if searching for something. After a while, it found that there were no other creatures in this sea area, and its eyes finally showed a trace of relief. Then the coral bush slowly swayed, and this divine sense fluctuation surged in all directions. The hundreds of spirit-swallowing insects in the depths of the seabed all received some kind of instruction and burrowed deeper into the seabed. They identified a direction and surged towards it. This direction was not the outer sea area, but the northern coastline of the Shiyuan state. Strong battle fluctuations surged everywhere in the Shiyuan state. It had been more than half a day since the cultivators launched a sneak attack on the Thousand Tides formation. The three nodes of the Scorching Sun sect, the Tao E School, and the Heavenly Talisman School were not only completely occupied by the cultivators, but also set up brand new, forbidden formations. There was a nascent soul stage cultivator and several core formation stage cultivators respectively. Unless the sea race gathered a dozen transformed demonic beasts to attack, it was impossible to break any of the forbidden formations in a short period of time. Moreover, the sea demons of the Shiyuan state had been suppressed by the cultivators and could not organize a counterattack. Nearly half of the high-level sea demons were being hunted down by the nascent soul stage cultivators, and the rest had retreated to the nodes of the formation along the coastline, using some of the formations of the Thousand Tides formation to deal with the besieging nascent soul stage cultivators. As time passed, all the cultivators and demonic beasts found that the inner sea and the Shiyuan state had completely become a closed cage. Even the border between the inner sea and the outer sea was covered by a layer of blue and white halo shield. This kind of terrifying restriction that contained the chi of heaven and earth was difficult for even the great cultivators to break. Those transformed demonic beasts could only struggle at death's door and avoid the pursuit of the cultivators. Every few hundred miles, there was a battle. The Kuei Cow King and the others floated on the surface of the sea, with the Tao E spiritual master at the head of the group. A three-legged bronze cauldron floated in front of him, and the three dragon heads spat out a faint cloud of mist, forming a pale white light shield around everyone. The Kuei Cow King and Reverend Tao E, who had the highest cultivations, were slightly pale. Their expressions were extremely serious, and there was a trace of regret in the depths of their eyes. Aside from this man and Yao, everyone else's eyes were slightly unfocused. Their divine senses were trembling, as if their divine souls had suffered some kind of serious injury. Their eyes were filled with fear as they looked ahead. The restriction at the center of the coral island had already been broken by the joint efforts of everyone. In its place was a huge pale white reef. On top of it was a turtle shell that was 50 to 60 meters in size. On the deep yellow turtle shell that looked like granite, there were many edges that looked like rocks. It gave off an incomparably heavy aura and seemed to contain astonishing defensive power. The giant turtle's head and limbs were all retracted into its shell. Deep purple light was flashing in the dark openings of the shell. At the head of the turtle's shell, there was the shriveled corpse of a gray shark. A silver round axe and a silver ball fell to the side. Although the turtle shell did not give off any aura, the surrounding air was slightly distorted, and a layer of pale yellow mist lingered around it. Everyone's eyes were fixed on this layer of yellow mist. Chun Mingzhu's voice was trembling as she said, "That mist attack just now, could it be the unique willpower of the soul formation stage?" The Kuei Cow King took a deep breath and said, "That's right. This is the Demon King's frenzy will. However, this old guy has only comprehended the most superficial kind. It seems that he is still unable to use it freely." Han Feng's expression was ugly as he said, "Didn't we destroy the Thousand Tides formation? Why is this turtle demon's cultivation not affected? He already has the Demon King's divine powers." The Tao E spiritual master's eyes flickered as he said, "Fellow Taoist Han, the turtle demon's willpower attack was clearly unleashed with all his strength. It seems to have been unleashed by devouring the soul and demon core of the 10th grade shark demon." Hearing this, everyone's eyes turned to the shriveled corpse on the ground, revealing a look of disbelief. At this time, the Kuei Cow King said, "I have the same idea as Brother Tao E. If this guy had extra strength, he could have taken advantage of the fact that we were affected by the willpower to launch a lightning-fast attack. Instead of continuing to cultivate in seclusion, now is the best time to attack." The Tao E spiritual master looked at the three-legged cauldron in front of him and gritted his teeth. Everyone, attack as you please. I have brought the most precious treasure of my sect, the cloud mist cauldron. As long as I lose some of my vital energy, this frenzy will not affect us at all. Everyone looked at the three-legged cauldron in front of the Tao spiritual master. Not long ago, they had joined forces to break the last restriction on the island, and were attacked by a yellow demonic mist that was filled with frenzy will. If the Tao spiritual master had not summoned this cauldron, they would have suffered even more damage. The Tao spiritual master's eyes flashed with a trace of pain. His hands formed an extremely complicated seal, and rays of spiritual light shot out. This three-legged cauldron floated above everyone's heads and scattered a misty halo, enveloping everyone within. Everyone felt an ethereal feeling in this layer of halo. Although they had not come into contact with the willpower of a soul formation cultivator, they could still feel that this was the same level of power as the frenzy will, and could not help but feel a lot more at ease. Then, a white jade fan appeared in the Tao spiritual master's hand, and the incomparably vigorous power of the nascent soul rolled endlessly. He fiercely fanned the turtle shell in front of him, and a cloud of mist mixed with countless ice shards burst out with a loud bang. At the same time, the Kuei Cow King's hands quickly waved, and one big and two small black square seals formed by his cow hooves, surrounded by incomparably dense lightning, caught up with the icy cloud. The three hooves quickly fused together in the clouds and mist, turning into a 10-feet-long magical seal. Wrapped in a layer of clouds and mist filled with lightning and ice, it directly blasted towards the turtle shell that was quietly creeping on the reef. Boom, boom, boom. The two powerhouses joined forces to attack, and with unparalleled power, terrifying waves of air rolled in all directions, stirring up rings of shocking waves, and the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth violently surged. The cloud of mist dissipated, and the surroundings of the coral island were a mess, but the giant turtle shell in the middle seemed to be the same, and there were no signs of damage. The Tao spiritual master's pupil shrank, and a somewhat incredulous expression appeared on his face. How could this be? In our attack, just now, we did not absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The Kuei Cow King looked down, and his expression was unsightly. The old turtle demon's soul has already crossed the threshold of the Demon King. Since he can use the frenzy will, naturally, he can sense and condense the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The two of us are only relying on the vigorous power of the nascent soul to attract the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but this guy is using the Demon King's divine will as a guide. Naturally, we can't beat him. The Tao spiritual master gritted his teeth and said, "So what if there is no spiritual energy of heaven and earth? This old turtle is still in a state of cultivation. With so many of us, do you think we can't do anything to him?" The Kuei Cow King said in a low voice, "Everyone, attack with all your strength. As long as we interrupt his cultivation state, he will definitely suffer a backlash, and we will have one half of the battle." After the Kuei Cow King and the Tao spiritual master's attack, the others saw that they were not attacked by the frenzy will again, and surged the demonic spiritual energy and spiritual power in their bodies. They activated their respective natal magic treasures and launched a continuous attack. Boom, boom, boom. Among the 4 people and 3 demons, except for Chun Mingzhu, they were all outstanding cultivators in the nascent soul stage. When they joined forces to launch an attack, even without the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, the power they displayed was beyond imagination. The world's spiritual energy was stirred up frantically, and layers of waves rolled outwards. Even the immortal cultivators hundreds of kilometers away could sense the terrifying fluctuations here. Under such a series of attacks, a small part of the coral island was smashed to pieces. The crowd bombarded several rounds in a row before stopping. Soon, they were horrified to find that the turtle shell was still in the same place. It did not seem to be damaged, and only turned from dark yellow to light yellow. The yellow fog outside the turtle shell had unknowingly turned into the illusion of a giant turtle. It was a giant yellow turtle covered in thick rocks. Except for the turtle shell on its back, even its skin seemed to be formed of rocks. The Kauai Cow King took a closer look and cried out, "Black turtle! How is this possible? Isn't this old turtle a thunder turtle? How can it have the bloodline of the black turtle?" Chapter 10:27. In the air near the coral island, Lu Kuan was shrouded in a layer of the simplest invisibility spell. He hid in the air and did not reveal any aura. After the spirit-devouring bugs escaped, he rushed back without stopping, just in time to see the Kauai Cow King and the others being attacked by a yellow demonic fog. The will of frenzy? This turtle demon seems to have comprehended the same willpower as the wise stone monkey. Lu Kuan revealed a thoughtful expression. Before, he had sensed a proud will within the thousand-tide array. Amongst the sea races, the only one who possessed the strength of will was the Dragon King. The wise stone monkey had the will of frenzy. The Yuan Chi shield in the air contained the lazy will of the spirit transformation sect senior. And in the three-legged cauldron activated by the Tao, spiritual master, he could faintly feel a trace of willpower. Coupled with the remaining sharpness of the Valley of Swords, Lu Kuan thought that the willpower comprehended by the demon race and the human race was similar to their own characteristics. But from the turtle demon in front of him, the same willpower could be comprehended repeatedly. He did not know if it was different from the wise stone monkey. Many thoughts flashed through his mind. Then, he saw the Tao, spiritual master, and the Kauai Cow King start to attack. Seeing the unscathed turtle shell, he was amazed. How terrifying! With the obstruction of willpower, the late nascent soul stage attack cannot absorb even a trace of the Yuan Chi of heaven and earth. Lu Kuan was different from the Kauai Cow King and the others. He could clearly feel the changes in the Yuan Chi of heaven and earth. The surroundings of the turtle shell were filled with dense Yuan Chi of heaven and earth. This formless high-level energy was drawn into the body of the turtle demon by the will of frenzy. Although the attacks of the Kauai Cow King and the Tao, spiritual master absorbed the Yuan Chi of heaven and earth at the beginning, when they approached the turtle demon, the Yuan Chi of heaven and earth immediately rebelled and transferred directly to the turtle shell. The Yuan Chi of heaven and earth, triggered by their rich nascent soul power, was helping the turtle shell to gather. In this way, the damage suffered by the opponent was naturally much lower. The feeling of the willpower seizing heaven-earth Yuan Chi was somewhat similar to his jewel fist battle technique. However, the former was much more domineering. He had tried to stir the heaven-earth Yuan Chi in the Yuan energy barrier, but he was unable to move it at all. After all, the Yuan energy barrier still contained the lingering will of the senior. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly, and he could not help but look up at the light blue Yuan Chi shield. That's not right. The Chi of heaven and earth in the Shiyuan state contains the power of senior's willpower, while the demon turtle has comprehended the will of frenzy. These are two completely different kinds of willpower. Why isn't there a conflict? While thinking, he flew a little higher into the sky and came under the Yuan Chi shield. He carefully felt the Yuan Chi of heaven and earth and the power of will around him, and gradually came to a realization. I understand now. Aside from gathering the energy of the world, the myriad tide grand formation's main function is to gather and wear down the will that senior left behind. The arrogant willpower of the myriad tide grand formation first draws out the lingering will hidden in the heaven-earth Yuan Chi, and then through the powerful Yuan energy barrier, it consumes this willpower. In other words, the myriad tide grand formation is essentially a purification array. It collects the lingering willpower and then consumes it to purify the heaven-earth Yuan Chi in the inner sea and the Shiyuan state. The outer sea is the Dragon King's territory. The heaven-earth Yuan Chi there is also filled with willpower. If the old demon turtle wanted to break through to the Demon King realm, he could only choose to set up the myriad tide grand formation here. I'm afraid this is the real reason why the sea race attacked Chu. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan's expression suddenly sank. Dao Yi and the Kuei Cow King tampered with the Myriad Tide Grand Formation. It's impossible that they did not know this. If they really wanted to prevent the other party from entering the Demon King realm, they would definitely make the purification effect of the Myriad Tide Grand Formation disappear and not set up some Yuan Qi restriction. Lu Kuan recalled that Dao Yi had emphasized that time was of the essence, and that the risk would be greater if the demon turtle discovered the Yuan energy barrier earlier. Now that he thought about it, the complete closure of the Yuan energy barrier meant that the lingering will had been extracted and the old demon turtle could break through without worry. If the demon turtle succeeded in breaking through, the land demons would be in an even lower position, and the Chu immortal realm would be in great danger. This would not benefit the Kuei Cow King and Dao Yi at all. In addition to the contract, they would definitely want to destroy the old demon turtle. They want to kill the demon turtle and help him break through. The only thing that would make them take such a risk is profit. These two fellows, are they trying to kill the demon turtle while he's in the state of a half-step demon king? Lu Kuan's mind spun rapidly. A half-step demon king has comprehended willpower. The biggest difference between him and a peak level 10 is his spirit, which is extremely close to the demon king realm. Could their goal be the soul of this half-step demon king? Old Fiend Pang used the soul of a demon king to create the demon soul elixir. This half-step demon king's spirit might also be a material for some kind of top-grade elixir. Lu Kuan's imagination ran wild as he watched the crowd continuously attack the demon turtle, until an illusion of a giant rock turtle appeared outside the yellow turtle shell. The bloodline of the black tortoise? Is this Gui Ling Er's original form? He could not help but think of the cowardly demon turtle in his own sect. He could not associate it with the domineering black tortoise illusion in front of him. What kind of demonic beast is this old demon turtle? Didn't the Kuei Cow King say that it has the bloodline of the thunder turtle? It even has the bloodline of the black tortoise. No wonder its defense is so terrifying. 2 grand cultivators, 2 level 9 demonic beasts, and 2 mid-nascent soul stage cultivators. The combined attack was extremely frightening. Even Lu Kuan did not dare to stand still and let them attack. This demon turtle was different. Although it was passively defending, its use of the chi of heaven and earth had already surpassed the nascent soul stage. Not only did it neutralize most of the attacks from the Kuei Cow King and Dao Yi, it could also absorb the chi of the opponent to strengthen its own defense. What's more, this guy also had the bloodline of the black tortoise, which was famous for its defense. If they keep attacking from a distance, they won't be able to break the other party's defense in a short time. Just as Lu Kuan was hesitating whether he should make a move or not, his expression suddenly changed. Through his perception, all the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth in the vicinity seemed to be attracted by something and surged over from all directions. The spiritual energy within a radius of dozens of miles was dyed with a layer of pale white halo by the rich Qi of heaven and earth. Clouds of Qi of heaven and earth appeared one after another in the air, covering the entire sky in the blink of an eye. Even the blue Qi of heaven and earth was covered. These clouds of light slowly rotated and rushed towards the turtle shell in the center of the coral island. As the clouds of Qi of heaven and earth approached, waves of heart-palpitating spiritual pressure were emitted. Everyone showed a look of horror. Under the pressure of this Qi of heaven and earth, the power of the nascent soul stage in their bodies was somewhat stagnant. With such a shocking phenomenon, this demon turtle was obviously at the final juncture of a breakthrough. If it was allowed to pass, it would be in existence at the level of a demon king. Even if it was a beginner demon king, it was not something they could resist. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a golden light. He retreated dozens of feet and did not show himself. If the Kuei Cow King and Dao Yi Master were plotting to obtain the soul of the half-step demon king, then they must be prepared. Along the way, he always felt that the man and the demon were holding back. They did not even display the level of strength they had when they fought with him that day. He had already shown his powerful strength, or rather his amazing defensive power and speed, and also lured away the most troublesome spirit-swallowing insects. At this time, there was no need to make a move. Chapter 1028. Feeling such a terrifying chi of heaven and earth phenomenon, Taoist Dao Yi's eyes narrowed, and he began to chant some kind of obscure incantation. His hands flashed rapidly, and the cloud cauldron above everyone's head suddenly began to rotate. The Kuei Cow King's expression was equally dignified. He opened his mouth slightly and spat out a pair of pitch-black horns with strange runes engraved on them, faintly exuding a destructive aura. Then, the 10th level Kuei Cow also chanted the same incantation as the cultivators. The pair of horns trembled incessantly, and the destructive power inside became even more turbulent. Han Feng and the others were still hesitating whether to retreat or not, but after seeing the means of the man and the demon, they suddenly became spirited. These two attacks, just from the way they were cast, had an unfathomable feeling. After 10 breaths, Taoist Dao Yi finished chanting the last few syllables. The 3 dragon heads of the cloud cauldron had already spat out a dazzling ball of spiritual light, like a small sun, making people unable to look directly at it. He held a ray of spiritual light in his hand, his body trembling slightly and his forehead sweating. He did not cast the spell, but instead stared at the turtle shell on the island. The Kuei Cow King also finished casting the spell. He held the black horns with both hands, which were surrounded by black lightning. A terrifying, destructive aura surged incessantly, and the pair of hands that had transformed into human form were even somewhat charred. Even so, like Taoist Dao Yi, he did not launch an attack, but stared at the turtle demon that was absorbing the chi of heaven and earth. Although they did not attack, the aura emitted by the two made others shudder. Even the pressure of the chi of heaven and earth outside was reduced by a lot. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the surrounding chi of heaven and earth became denser, forming a huge funnel-shaped cloud that slowly rotated and pressed down in the direction of the coral island. Suddenly, this huge cloud trembled, and its downward trend seemed to be hindered by something. Taoist Dao Yi's eyes lit up. "Brother Cow, attack!" The Kuei Cow King did not say anything, and his vigorous demonic spiritual power desperately poured into the black horns. He put his hands together, and the 2 horns instantly merged together. Then, he swung his arms and threw it toward the center of the island. At the same time, the white light in Dao Yi's hand shot out. The shining ball of light in front of the cloud mist cauldron seemed to have teleported and directly merged with the flying bullhorn. The Kuei Cow King was a 10th grade demonic beast and a primordial Kuei cow with a powerful bloodline. The force of its throw could reach 1,000,000 pounds, and the surrounding air was compressed intensely, producing a continuous sound of air exploding. A powerful thought gushed out from the shining ball of light that enveloped the bullhorn. It was the most precious ethereal will of the Dao Yi school. The funnel-shaped white clouds in the air seemed to have discovered some delicious food and rushed toward the thick bullhorn. Almost in the blink of an eye, the thick black bullhorn turned into a huge white cloud ball the size of a small house, with dense black lightning rolling inside. The turtle shell below seemed to have sensed a crisis, and the illusory image of the Xian turtle flashed and submerged into the turtle shell. Then, a turbulent power of blood and vitality surged out, and a brilliant yellow radiance flourished. Rumble! A suffocating aura of destruction soared into the sky, and a terrifying wave of air surged in all directions. The coral island, which was several miles in size, was turned into fine powder in an instant. A small mushroom cloud rose into the air, and rings of monstrous waves rolled in all directions. It was unknown whether the power of the attack was too terrifying or whether it had killed the turtle demon below, but the incomparably huge funnel-shaped cloud of vitality in the air suddenly dispersed. Feeling the terrifying power of this attack, everyone's faces were filled with shock. Even though they were relatively far away, they were still sent flying hundreds of feet by the terrifying aftershock, and their protective spiritual light dimmed for a moment. Although they had never seen a soul formation cultivator in action, the attack in front of them had attracted so much vitality of heaven and earth. Even if it was not comparable to a soul formation cultivator, it was probably not far off. Dao, Master, and the Kuei Cow King also seemed to be shocked by the power of the joint attack. After a slight pause, they revealed a look of anticipation and looked toward the center of the mushroom cloud. Sigh. A long sigh was heard, and the dust dispersed. On the surface of the scene not far away, the yellow turtle shell had disappeared, and in its place was a deep purple turtle shell. Light green limbs and a head slowly stretched out from the turtle shell. There was a trace of blood at the edge of its mouth, and its wrinkled face was full of sorrow. Dao, Master said in disbelief. Impossible! How can it still be alive? The Kuei Cow King also felt that it was unbelievable. Although it was the first time they had used this joint attack, the power was definitely beyond imagination. Dao, Master's Cloud Cauldron was refined by several generations of elders of the Dao sect over thousands of years. Although it was not comparable to the legendary divine spiritual treasures, with the support of the ethereal will, its magical power was not inferior to that of a real divine spiritual treasure. What he had just used was the strongest magical power of the Cloud Cauldron, the ethereal light. In order to unleash its greatest power, Dao, Master had even used a few strands of the ethereal will. This ethereal light could attract the vitality of heaven and earth within a few miles, forming a unique energy. In addition to restraining all 5 elements, the ethereal will within could also attack the soul. No late-stage nascent soul cultivator will be able to take it head-on. In Dao, Master's opinion, the scale of this magical power that could attract the vitality of heaven and earth had completely reached the standard of the divine transformation stage. The only drawback was that the casting time was too long, and it also needed to use up the ethereal will. The Kuei Cow King's horns were also not simple objects. He had used the Kuei Cow's unique art of sacrificial lightning to refine the horns of the Kuei Cow that had been shed. This art of sacrificial lightning and the ethereal light of the Cloud Cauldron complemented each other, and the power unleashed was definitely not as simple as 1 + 1. However, such an attack seemed to only be able to injure the 10th level turtle demon. A purple light flashed, and the turtle demon in the distance turned into a middle-aged man. His face was slightly pale, and his skin was wrapped in a layer of deep purple scales. He looked at the Kuei Cow King and the others and sighed. Although I knew that Ao Chen had a backup plan, I didn't expect that other than the dragon whale, you were also bought. If I had entered the demonic king stage, the terrestrial demons would have a large piece of land to live on. Why not? Why did you have to ally with the cultivators and go against me? The Kuei Cow King snorted. Old man, do you think I don't know what kind of person you are? You've been suppressing the demons for 1,000 years, and the Silver Leopard King was also secretly eliminated by you. Otherwise, we would have at least 2 10th level demons guarding us. The middle-aged man shook his head. I don't want to talk about the past. If you were in my shoes, you would have done the same thing. I only have one question. If you continue to work with me, my conditions will not change. The sea demons are not used to the environment of the land, and we will not have any conflicts in the future. The Kuei Cow King narrowed his eyes. Gui Zhongshan, you failed to break through to the demonic king stage, and you also suffered from the attack just now. I don't believe that you are not injured. What do you have to work with me? Gui Zhongshan glanced at the Dao, a spiritual master beside him, and chuckled. The power of your combined attack was indeed terrifying. If it was a few decades ago, I would have been seriously injured if not killed. But you didn't expect that although it interrupted the breakthrough, it saved my life. Speaking of this, he looked up in the direction of the inner sea and sighed. If it weren't for such a terrifying attack, I wouldn't have burned the Xuanwu blood, and I wouldn't have discovered that there was a trace of senior Yin's will hidden in the Xuanwu blood. if this trace will burst out when I was in the primordial spirit unification stage. Not only would the breakthrough fail, but my soul would also be seriously injured. Gui Zhongshan smirked. But Senior Yin didn't expect that after burning the Xuanwu blood, not only would my defense increase greatly, but would also accidentally stimulate the power of will inside. I comprehended some of the frenzy intent, and this fellow cultivator's power of will, just enough to eliminate Senior Yin's remaining will. On the surface of Gui Zhongshan's scales, dazzling lightning gradually surged. It's fate. Although the breakthrough failed this time, my lightning turtle blood is more refined, and with my understanding of the power of will, the next breakthrough will be successful. Since you refuse to work with me, today is the day you die. As he spoke, lightning flashed around his body, and he disappeared from the spot, then reappeared a few hundred feet away. The Kuei Cow King exclaimed, "Oh no, this is the lightning escape technique." The Tao E spiritual master's expression changed drastically, and the rich nascent soul power in his body surged. The cloud cauldron above his head shot out a layer of white cloud, enveloping everyone. Just as he did this, Gui Zhongshan's figure appeared in front of them. Chapter 1029. Gui Zhongshan looked at the rising cloud defense and smirked. A purple ball of light surged out of his scaly fists and blasted forward at lightning speed. Bang! A pair of black hooves suddenly extended out of the cloud, also surrounded by lightning. The Kuei Cow King couldn't help but let out a muffled groan as he took 2 steps back. Gui Zhongshan also staggered, but the purple ball of lightning still blasted onto the cloud shield. A strong destructive force rolled out, and the seemingly powerful shield dimmed at a visible speed. Although the Kuei Cow King was repelled, it gave everyone a chance to react. Dao he had already taken out his ice cloud fan. The power of his nascent soul surged, and he fanned out a cloud of ice towards Turtle Mountain. Ice flowers even appeared in the air ahead. The others did not stop as well. The Jade Rui in Daoist Baiyun's hand flickered and shot out streams of white mist, which surged into the dissipating mist barrier. A magic treasure that looked like a mini hill appeared in front of Han Feng. Both of his hands were forming some kind of complicated spell sign. The Golden Lion King shook his body and shot out a sky full of golden needles, covering the area in front of him. Badger 6 didn't attack. Instead, he narrowed his eyes and his sharp claws shone with a dazzling golden light. Gui Zhongshan looked at everyone's counterattack and chuckled. With a flash of lightning, he disappeared on the spot. The sky full of attacks fell on empty air. The next moment, he appeared on the other side. As he waved his fist forward, he spat out a purple ball of lightning from his mouth. The ball of lightning emitted a dazzling halo and contained rich spiritual chi of heaven and earth. The dim cloud shield was directly shattered by the lightning fist. Then, the purple ball of lightning blasted towards everyone. At this critical moment, a black square seal the size of a millstone appeared out of thin air. The Kuei Cow King's 2 hooves were behind him, and his dense demonic spiritual energy surged wildly, blocking the ball of lightning. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared. This guy still has berserk intent. Dao Yi, use the method from before. Daoist Dao Yi's complexion changed greatly. The vigorous magic power of a late Yuanying stage in his body rapidly circulated, and several spirit lights shot into the cloud cauldron in the sky, while his mouth continuously chanted incantations. Chen Mingzhu's cultivation was the lowest. He felt a strong aura of death from the terrifying attack of the turtle demon. He gritted his teeth and swallowed a black and white spirit pill. The aura in his body suddenly surged and directly reached the peak of the early nascent soul stage. Then a spiritual light flashed in his hand, and he continuously sent it into the 8 trigrams in his hand. At the same time, everyone stood back to back in a circle and looked around cautiously. However, a bolt of lightning flashed under their feet, and Tortoise Mountain appeared below them. More than 10 purple scales shot out from the back of the demon turtle, turning into lightning and flying towards everyone's lower body. A deep purple light was brewing in its mouth. Badger 6's reaction was the fastest. He roared angrily and transformed into his badger beast form. The 3-feet-long golden claws on his 4 limbs were like 10 long swords, drawing a few sword lights in the air and blocking the lightning scales. In the instant of the collision, Badger 6 was enveloped by lightning, and a burnt smell came from his fur. However, he did not care. His eyes were red, and his speed increased. Concentrated sounds of collision rang out. Almost every lightning scale was hit several times, and for a moment, this round of attack was blocked. At this time, Tortoise Mountain opened its mouth, and a dragon-like lightning shot into the sky, carrying an even more terrifying destructive force. The aura it emitted was not inferior to the Kuei Cow King's self-detonating horns. Fortunately, Han Feng finished casting the spell. The magic treasure in the shape of a small mountain in his hand disappeared, and as if it had teleported, it appeared below him. Then, with a speed visible to the naked eye, it turned into a huge mountain of 70 to 80 feet tall, emitting a heavy pressure. Rumble! The thick lightning dragon exploded at the bottom of the small mountain. The purple and yellow light intertwined for a moment, and the magic treasure's light quickly dimmed, turning back into a miniature mountain. Han Feng spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura weakened, but the lightning dragon's halo had also dissipated by half. At this moment, the Golden Lion King's hundreds of golden needles turned into a golden streak of light and flew over. At the same time, a copper mirror appeared in Taoist Baiyun's hand. Dazzling white light flew out and finally dispersed the lightning serpent. The Golden Lion King and Taoist Baiyun were also not in a good state. Several streaks of blood appeared in their eyes, and their divine senses trembled. Everyone's expressions were extremely ugly. The chi of heaven and earth absorbed by this demonic turtle had almost reached the limit of a Class 10 demonic beast. Everyone had to circulate their dermic powers with all their might to barely withstand the opponent's attack. Moreover, there was a trace of frenzy in the attack, which would also impact one's divine sense. Although it was much weaker than the yellow fog from before, if the demon turtle continuously attacked, their divine senses would be damaged, and their reaction speed would only become slower. Sooner or later, they would be exhausted to death by the demon turtle. Fortunately, Taoist Dao, he had finished casting his spell. A misty white halo enveloped everyone. At the same time, the 8 trigrams in Chun Mingzhu's hand bloomed with a strong light, and a unique restrictive power was added to it. The Kuei Cow King's face was pale. He had blocked 2 attacks in a row, and his head was still a little swollen. He did not expect Gui Zhongshan to be so proficient in using the Thunder Escape. Could it be that his bloodline had reverted to its ancestor, and he had become a real lightning turtle? Gui Zhongshan saw a new defensive halo appear around everyone's body, and he sneered. Purple lightning circled around his body, and he used the terrifying Thunder Escape again. But right at that moment, the expression on the turtle demon's face changed. He suddenly felt the air around him thicken, and a terrifying power of the void pressed down on him from all directions. His half-hidden body staggered and fell out of the void. A burly figure appeared behind Gui Zhongshan out of thin air. It was Lu Kuan, who was hiding beside him. His arms were twisted with hideous muscles, and they were like 2 thick stone pillars that tightly wrapped around the demon turtle's arms. His strong thighs were like springs, entangling the demon turtle's legs. Gui Zhongshan's body trembled, and he realized that he could not break free from this force. His expression darkened. More than 1,000,000 pounds of strength. What kind of demon is this? Then his limbs and head disappeared, leaving only a torso covered with purple scales. A dazzling purple halo shone on it, and a terrifying wave of energy exploded. Lu Kuan, who was in the middle, was directly blown away. The restrictive force in the surrounding air completely dissipated, and the demon turtle also disappeared in the halo. Lu Kuan looked at his char body and snorted. His golden eyes narrowed slightly, and an extremely rich treasure light surged from his body, as if he had condensed hundreds of magic treasures. The terrifying treasure light aura spread out. Then he stomped his feet in the void, and the air behind him was compressed into a curved arc. There was a burst of squeezing sounds, and his body disappeared. On the other side of the white shield, Gui Zhongshan's figure appeared again, and Lu Kuan's figure followed closely behind. An extremely dense, invisible force surged in the surrounding air again, and a pair of thick and deformed arms hugged his waist. What kind of magic is this? Gui Zhongshan's pupils shrank, and an even more intense purple halo surged out of his body. He blasted away the sticky air around him and used the thunder escape technique again. Facing such a terrifying power of thunder and lightning, Lu Kuan had no intention of dodging at all. Monstrous blood, qi, surged out, and in the next moment, his burly body disappeared in the lightning. Gui Zhongshan's figure appeared a few hundred feet away. The half-step demon king's terrifying divine sense radiated in all directions, and finally detected the burly man. His pupils shrank. He found that this strange man was so fast. In addition to the 200 treasure lights, he could also walk in the void. The invisible air was like a solid ground to him. With the help of the terrifying brute force and the treasure lights, this man's short-distance explosive speed was even close to the speed of the thunder escape technique. Gui Zhongshan also found that this guy took 2 of his lightning attacks head-on, and only his skin was burned. The lightning that contained the qi of heaven and earth didn't seem to cause any harm. This man exuded a vigorous blood qi that was not inferior to his own. Wait, this bloodline aura. Gui Zhongshan looked at the man's thick arms and golden eyes in disbelief. Long-armed giant ape? This is impossible. How can there be such a monster ape in the immortal cultivation world? Chapter 10:30. Lu Kuan hurried through the air, a solemn look flashing in the depths of his eyes. Activating 206 bone treasures at the same time consumed a lot of demonic energy, but the explosive speed was incomparably shocking. In addition to borrowing the force of the void to run, his short-distance explosive speed had already reached an extremely terrifying realm. It was no wonder that Gui Zhongshan found it unbelievable. Even demonic beasts would find it difficult to perform such a movement that was close to teleportation. The air that was torn apart became incomparably sharp. A weaker body would even be squeezed by the air pressure to the point that their blood vessels would burst. Furthermore, the environment flashing rapidly around him was difficult for a mid-nascent soul-stage divine sense to capture. If Lu Kuan didn't have the GoldenEye divine ability, he wouldn't be able to see clearly, let alone lock onto the position of the demonic turtle. Even with such a terrifying speed, he was still slower than the demonic turtle. The power of the lightning escape technique was probably close to that of a nascent soul-stage teleportation divine ability. In addition, the attack of this peak level 10 demonic beast was much stronger than that of the Kuei Cow King. The lightning bolts, which were enhanced by the qi of heaven and earth, even reached the power of the 8th lightning tribulation. Unfortunately, even the lightning tribulation would be weakened by Lu Kuan's lightning resistance, let alone this demonic beast. Furthermore, Lu Kuan's current strength was greatly improved compared to when he was undergoing the tribulation. Not only did he stabilize his cultivation, but he was also more flexible in using his body. Not long ago, when Lu Kuan fought with the level 10 shark demon, he found that when his muscles were bursting with power, the defense of his muscles would be enhanced by a level if he added a large amount of blood essence. He could take the demonic turtle's lightning attack head-on. Amidst the endless sounds of explosions in the air, Lu Kuan once again arrived beside the demon tortoise, his hands reaching for its waist. In order to conserve his demon energy, he directly converted the passive origin energy field into void compression force when they were within 3 feet of each other. Even a level 9 demonic beast body might not be able to withstand the pressure of 2 million pounds of force. However, this divine ability couldn't withstand the power of the chi of heaven and earth. The demonic turtle's powerful lightning bolts broke free. Boom! Another dazzling lightning halo exploded. However, Gui Zhongshan did not use lightning escape again. Instead, he turned his head to face Lu Kuan. His head turned into a tortoise, and a huge ball of lightning shot out from his bloody mouth. Lu Kuan snorted coldly. The flesh and blood on his face quickly dissipated, and in the blink of an eye, he turned into a skeleton. Facing this thunderbolt ball, not only did he not dodge, he even used his skull as a hammer and fiercely charged forward. The pair of ferocious giant arms hugged the tortoise's torso tightly, and 1,000,000 kilograms of origin energy surged out once again. Bang! The thunderball that Gui Zhongshan spat out hit Lu Kuan's skull. Immediately after that, Lu Kuan felt a sharp pain in his lower jaw. Even a demonic beast with a terrifying defense like him would feel dizzy after being hit by a Dharma treasure that contained a brute force of 1,200,000 pounds. At this moment, a powerful bolt of lightning flashed in the distance. A pair of black ox hooves fused together and turned into a black seal. It carried a faint halo as it slammed into the turtle demon's head. As if stimulated by the pain, Gui Zhongshan let out an angry roar. A purple halo surged out of his body and blasted Lu Kuan away. Once again, he escaped with the thunder escape. At this moment, Lu Kuan's appearance was terrifying. He had the body of a human, deformed in thick arms and a shiny silver skull. He watched the turtle demon disappear, and a faint golden light flashed in his empty eye sockets. An ear-piercing roar exploded in the air, and he also disappeared. Spiritual Master Dao, Yi, and the others were dumbfounded as they watched the two flashing figures outside the cloud shield. They had seen Master Lu's escape technique before, but that was in the water. They did not expect that this person's explosive speed in the air would be so terrifying. When they thought of his powerful brute force and defense, they could not help but break out in a cold sweat. It was not until the Kuei Cow King launched his attack that the others came back to their senses. Master Lu was creating an opportunity. If he could control it a few more times, they might be able to kill the turtle demon. Thinking of this, everyone focused and observed the man and the demon outside. Their hands moved, and they were ready to attack at any time. The giant long-armed ape can't refine a cultivator's magic treasure. What kind of monster are you? Gui Zhongshan's face was badly mutilated, but was recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. After 10 rounds of fighting, he was caught in an opening, and Spiritual Master Dao, Yi, and the Kuei Cow King attacked together. In these 10 breaths, he had already seen that the 200 rays of light were emitted from bones. The bones of the opponent's body were all magic treasures at the mature stage. This was simply beyond his understanding. Even for a 10th level demon, only the strongest part of the body could reach this level. Those who could refine magic treasures were naturally cultivators. But what about the giant long-armed ape's magic power and bloodline aura? Wait, could it be a half-demon? But how could a half-demon have such a strong body? He looked at Lu Kuan with eyes full of disbelief. His opponent had withstood many lightning attacks that contained the will of madness. His bald skull was still shining with a silver light. Although the flesh on his body was broken, he did not suffer any deep injuries. His flesh was still slowly recovering. This meant that in addition to his amazing defense, this guy also had the magic power of the indestructible body. More importantly, Gui Zhongshan's attack contained a trace of frenzy, but did not affect him at all. Even if there were only a few of such powerful thoughts, after being hit several times, the soul would definitely be injured. However, the opponent still looked lively. Gui Zhongshan was dodging Lu Kuan's attacks while hesitating. Although he had removed the hidden danger of a Xuanwu bloodline and purified the Thunder Turtle bloodline, the horrifying attack from the Kuei, Cow King, and Dao, he had absorbed a large amount of spiritual chi of heaven and earth. It was not easy to withstand. Coupled with the remnant thoughts of the human soul formation cultivator, Gui Zhongshan's vitality was already damaged. However, the injury was suppressed by his cultivation. If he used too much of his demonic spiritual power, the injury might erupt. By then, he would be in danger. This was also the reason why he had been fighting in his human form. Although the attack power of his original body could be increased, the bigger the body, the more demonic spiritual power the Thunder Escape would consume. Also, before becoming a real Demon King, the frenzy could not be produced continuously. The more he used it, the less it would be used. Thinking of this, Gui Zhongshan's body surged with dense demonic spiritual power. His body flashed with even more dazzling lightning. This time, the distance of the Thunder Escape was much greater than before. It was 300 feet away. He had found out that the limit of his opponent's speed was 200 feet. Beyond this distance, his speed would be slower than the Thunder Escape. As expected, with the sound of the air exploding, Lu Kuan appeared 100 feet away. Gui Zhongshan glanced at everyone and said coldly, "I will remember what happened today. I will teach you one by one in the future." Then, lightning flashed on his body. He was about to use the Thunder Escape again. Lu Kuan's skeleton eye sockets looked at the demon turtle. He snorted coldly. "You want to leave? Have you asked for my permission?" Suddenly, a deformed piece of meat that looked like a brick appeared in his hand. He waved his thick and ferocious arm and threw it far away. Then his body flashed and disappeared. The deformed piece of meat was wrapped in layers of invisible force field. Under the horrifying brute force of more than 1 million pounds, it squeezed the air and blasted into the void more than 200 feet away. An invisible shock wave spread out. Gui Zhongshan's figure staggered and fell out of the void. Then he was hit in the chest by the deformed piece of meat. The demon turtle was shocked. What kind of power is this? Gui Zhongshan was hit by the Thunder Escape. Although he did not take any defensive measures, the defensive power of his scales was amazing. However, the deformed piece of meat's vibration force not only broke his escape technique, but also penetrated his scales and entered his body. Gui Zhongshan's demonic spiritual power trembled slightly. Fortunately, as a peak level 10 demon turtle, his body was also strong. The strange force was quickly dispersed by his body and demonic spiritual power. During this moment of delay, Lu Kuan appeared behind him again. The pressure in the air appeared again. This disgusting superpower. The demon turtle's expression changed. A thick layer of lightning surged on the surface of his body. He had already discovered that this superpower could not absorb the essence of heaven and earth. It was easy to break. After a purple halo exploded, Gui Zhongshan continued to use the teleportation technique. However, the next moment, he was still in the same place. The pressure in the air was still there. He could not help but look around. He found that in addition to the man who seemed to be a half-demon, there were 3 gray stones around him. The shape of the stones was very strange. They looked like some kind of long and thick stone tablet that had been twisted into a semicircle. Gui Zhongshan could clearly feel several invisible force fields surging out from each of the stone tablets. Although the force was much weaker than before, he couldn't use the lightning escape technique for a while under the pressure. Chapter 10:31. A purple halo exploded, and the force field emitted by the strange stone tablets was easily dispersed. However, before the turtle monster could use the lightning escape technique again, an even more terrifying pressure followed. Gui Zhongshan's expression became extremely ugly. He finally understood his opponent's method. Unlike before, there were now 2 force fields supporting him. The force field that was more than 1,000,000 kilograms came from the strange half-monster beside him. The other force field that was less than 1,000,000 kilograms was stimulated by the 3 strange stone tablets. The 2 force fields, one inside and one outside, were used alternately. No matter which one he broke, the other force field would immediately support him. Gui Zhongshan relied on the bloodline of the lightning turtle to instantaneously use a top divine ability like the lightning escape technique. However, he could not use other lightning attacks at the same time. This dual force field had not only crippled the lightning escape technique, but the endless pressure had also bound him in this narrow space. Lu Kuan's empty eye sockets looked coldly at Gue Zhongshan. His body moved slightly and flashed directly behind him. His two ferocious giant arms pressed tightly on the turtle monster's chest, exposing his waist and abdomen. Gue Zhongshan's expression changed. His teleportation was restricted by the dual force fields, and his body was held by Lu Kuan. He could only shrink his head into his body. The Kuei Cow King and Dao, spiritual master, reacted the fastest. As soon as Lu Kuan finished these actions, an icy cloud wrapped around two flashing black seals and attacked through the gaps between the stone tablets. Boom! The two great cultivator-level attacks directly hit the turtle monster's waist and abdomen. The purple scales were forcefully dented by a few inches, but quickly recovered under a flowing light. At the same time, the force field around Lu Kuan's body surged. If he did not do so, the Kuei Cow King's weapon would not have escaped so easily. After Gue Zhongshan suffered this attack, he let out an angry roar. Dense lightning surged out of his body and blasted away Lu Kuan and the force field that locked him. Its head and limbs flew out of its torso, pushing out 5 dazzling lightning balls. With lightning speed, it blasted towards the 3 strange stone steels floating in the air. Gue Zhongshan's eyes were bloodshot. He ignored Lu Kuan, who was closing in on him again. Instead, he looked at the lightning balls. He could not destroy the dual force fields at the same time, so he had to destroy the source. The man in front of him had thick skin and flesh, but the stone tablets outside were different. Sizzle. The sound of melting could be heard. When the seemingly powerful lightning ball neared the gray stone tablet, it actually dissipated into specks of spiritual light at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was as if spiritual energy could not exist on the stone tablet. Gue Zhongshan was slightly stunned, as if he could not believe his eyes. He looked out with his divine sense and exclaimed, "Dragon-breaking stone! How could something like this be refined into a magic treasure?" While he was in a daze, a pair of thick palms clamped down on his scaly neck, and a terrifying force surged out. Then, several magic treasures slammed into the demon turtle's head. Lightning surged out of Gue Zhongshan's body and blasted away the bindings again. Gue Zhongshan did not use the thunder escape technique, but rushed towards one of the stone tablets. Although he did not know how the dragon-breaking stone was refined into a spiritual energy, he knew that it could only be destroyed with brute force and a strong spiritual energy. He raised his fist, which was covered with a layer of purple scales. The body of a level 10 demonic beast was the most powerful weapon. He could definitely break Duan Longshire with his strength of 1,000,000 pounds. But at this moment, a figure stood in front of him. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with madness. The muscles on his deformed right arm that was as thick as a bucket twisted and trembled. His huge palm clenched Gue Zhongshan's fist tightly. In his other hand, he held a deformed piece of flesh. It was the combat treasure that Lu Kuan had successfully nurtured. Its surface was distorted with a few layers of invisible fluctuations that trembled endlessly, and it emitted a unique vibration force. "Old man, have a taste of my war treasure's power." Lu Kuan's swollen and ferocious arm waved rapidly. The brick war treasure on his fist turned into a phantom and blasted towards Gue Zhongshan's torso. Gue Zhongshan's face changed drastically. He was hit 4 or 5 times in an instant. With his thick scales, it was not a problem for him to resist the brute force of 1,000,000 pounds. But this brick war treasure contained some kind of strange force that directly penetrated his defense and rushed into his body. When the war treasure hit him with the thunder escape technique, it only took one attack to shake the demon's spiritual energy in his body that was suppressing his injuries. Then, it was resisted by his strong body and demon spiritual energy. Gue Zhongshan could feel layers of strange force penetrating his body. Although his strong body resisted part of it, this strange force was under the control of Lu Kuan. The frequency of the attack was frighteningly high, and the vibration force was endless. If he was in good condition, he could naturally resist with his vigorous demon spiritual energy. But now a lot of demon spiritual energy was suppressing his injuries. Relying on his body alone, he could not eliminate such a high frequency of strange force in a short period of time. Gue Zhongshan had to withdraw all his demon spiritual energy back into his body. For a moment, he was like a sandbag that was crazily bombarded. On the other side, Lu Kuan's expression was full of excitement and fanaticism. The War Treasure's role was beyond his imagination. The bone transformation stage's physical source strength had two main states. One was the Void Force, which could be used to exert invisible brute force more than 10 feet away. The consumption of demon energy was astonishing. There was also the passive origin energy field that surrounded his body. It was only in this passive state that he could borrow power from the void and unleash his terrifying strength to its fullest extent. He was also able to agilely use close-range combat techniques. At this time, Lu Kuan's physical source strength was in a passive state. The source force field was mobilized to form a squeezing force field in close combat to restrict the thunder escape technique of the level 10 turtle demon. He did not have any extra source strength to use his combat skills. But with the War Treasure, it was different. This brick-like War Treasure was refined according to the source strength of the suppressing energy palm combat skill and the elemental spirit array. As long as demon energy was injected into it, it could use the combat skills of a combat skill. In other words, with this War Treasure, Lu Kuan could continuously use the suppressing energy palm combat skill while exerting the squeezing force field. Even if Gue Zhongshan was a level 10 peak demon beast, he could only be suppressed in his injured state. But he could only suppress him. His attack power was not enough to seriously injure his opponent. However, he was not fighting alone. Seeing this scene, the demon cultivators and immortal cultivators in the distance were overjoyed. They all urged their most powerful magic to support Lu Kuan's attack. The Kuei Ox King's Ox Hooves, the Golden Lion King and Badger's 6 Sharp Claws, and the Tao E Spiritual Master's Icy Cloud bombarded one after another. The turtle demon's flesh and purple scales were constantly wriggling. The indestructible body was in effect, but under the continuous attacks of so many people, the speed of recovery was far slower than the speed of injury. The aura on his body gradually weakened. Boom! A shocking and turbulent purple halo suddenly burst out from Gue Zhongshan's body. At the same time, it was mixed with several strands of frenzy will. Everyone's attacks were stopped, and Lu Kuan was also blown away. A purple turtle shell of 50 to 60 feet in size floated in the air. The spiritual light on it flashed violently. The 3 origin heavy steel's squeezing force field trembled slightly, and the 3 steels were forced to surge outwards. Originally, the turtle demon was in human form, so the 3 origin heavy steel's range was small. But now that he was in his true form, there was an obvious gap in the force field. Lu Kuan looked at the turtle shell, flashing with lightning. His expression changed. At this moment, the force field of the 3 origin heavy steel could not stop him from using the lightning escape. But he reacted quickly. He put away his War Treasure and went directly to the turtle shell. His hands clasped the edge of the shell, and the origin energy in his body surged. He used the power of the void to envelop an area of 50 to 60 feet in radius, interrupting his opponent's casting. Lu Kuan's expression was fierce, and his muscles were trembling. Using the power of the void to compress such a large area consumed an unimaginable amount of energy. He could only hold on for a short while. At that moment, his golden eyes lit up. He discovered that the turtle demon's spiritual energy had fallen into chaos. His powerful divine sense was forcibly using the lightning escape. The turtle demon's spiritual energy has retreated into his body. He's an arrow at the end of its flight. Lu Kuan revealed a trace of joy. Spiritual light flashed in his right hand, and a gray ball appeared. He raised his right arm and fiercely stuffed it into the mouth of the turtle shell. Soon after, he felt rough skin. He revealed a ruthless expression and withdrew the power of the void. 5 silver vortexes appeared on his fingers, and a powerful, piercing force surged out. Without the obstruction of the force field, the turtle shell successfully used the lightning escape. Lightning flashed, and it disappeared, leaving Lu Kuan behind. Boom! Suddenly, a huge explosion rang out, and the giant turtle shell fell out of the void a dozen feet away. The mouth of the turtle shell was surging with a terrifying destructive force. Chapter 1032. Just as the purple tortoise shell fell from the sky, there was an explosion of air being compressed. Lu Kuan's burly figure had already landed on top of it. He squinted his eyes and did not use the void power. Instead, he raised his right hand, which was shining with a layer of silver light. 5 condensed silver vortexes appeared on his fingers, and he reached into the shell again. "Come out!" With a loud shout, the muscles on Lu Kuan's right arm wriggled ferociously, and a huge tortoise head was pulled out by him little by little. There were wrinkles on its pale green skin, and its eyes were dim, as if it was in a state of dizziness. There was a 5-fingered claw mark on its jaw, and its slightly open mouth was badly mutilated, faintly emitting a destructive aura. Lu Kuan's right hand was like a claw-shaped magic weapon, which was inserted into the back of the head's neck. In his other hand, the war treasure that looked like a head appeared, and he directly smashed the tortoise's head fiercely. Bang, bang, bang. The terrifying force of 1,200,000 kilograms kept trembling, forming a continuous wave of air that rolled in all directions. In just a few breaths, Lu Kuan had smashed 10 heavy blows. At the same time, a large amount of gray sand and dust had appeared around his body without anyone noticing. It had shrouded an area of 60 feet, and it looked like a gray fog balloon. Although Gui Zhongshan was a level 10 peak demonic beast, the demonic spiritual power in his body was in disorder, and there was no way to protect his head. With the strength of his flesh and blood, how could he resist such a barbaric and violent attack? After only 10 breaths of time, the turtle demon's skull had been forcibly shattered, and the brain matter inside had turned into a pool of blood. A purple shadow dashed out at lightning speed and directly collided with the fog ball. The gray sand seemed to be controlled by some kind of power, and it quickly gathered and condensed into a gray stone ball the size of a watermelon. Although there was a rumbling sound inside, the stone ball remained motionless. Seeing this, Lu Kuan finally breathed a sigh of relief. After many battles, he realized that the void force field could be broken by powerful spells. Therefore, he thought of adding the dragon-breaking stone sand into the force field. By combining the real and the void force field, he was able to trap the spirit of this top-level demonic beast. Keeping the dragon-snapping stone orb, Lu Kuan looked at the Kuei Cow King and the others not far away. He smiled and said, "Everyone, Lu has expended a lot of energy. I need to recover my mana first. The spirit-devouring bugs have already entered the depths of the inner sea and will not be back for a while." After saying that, he carried the corpse of the demon turtle and flew towards the coral island not far away. After the fierce battle, a large part of the island had been destroyed. It was almost parallel to the horizon, and a lot of seawater had poured into it, making it look like a swamp. The demonic cultivators and immortal cultivators all looked relieved as they sensed the lifeless corpse of the demonic turtle. Although it had been a bit of a twist, this peak 10th level demonic turtle was still dead. They looked at Lu Kuan's back with a respectful expression. Pavilion Master Lu had been the one to lead the battle just then. If it weren't for the support of this terrifyingly powerful teammate, they would have most likely been killed by this demonic turtle. Deep in the pupils of the Kuei Cow King and the Dao Yi Taoist Master flashed with extreme fear and worry. They had some understanding of the realm of a half-step demon king. The attack of the demonic turtle not only reached the peak of the 10th level, but also contained a trace of the Demon King's consciousness. This Master Lu not only had a strong physical defense, but also the defense of his spirit was so amazing. They even suspected that Lu Kuan's mid-nascent soul stage consciousness was just an illusion. In the joint contract they had signed with Lu Kuan, it stipulated that the spoils of war were only the Thunder Orb, Demon Core, and Flesh. As for the other parts, they would be distributed after the battle according to their contributions in the battle. They had thought that with the power of the self-detonating horns and the ethereal light, they would definitely be able to take the lead. Who knew that this terrifying magical power would only interrupt the demonic turtle's advancement and even help him solve a hidden danger? The following battle was completely dependent on this Master Lu. As a result, they were at an absolute disadvantage in the distribution. The others did not have such worries. The Golden Lion King and Badger Six were completely obedient to the Kuei Cow King. Taoist Baiyun was the junior brother of the Dao Yi Taoist Master, and Han Feng and Qin Mingzhu had also made deals with him. These people relaxed and instead excitedly discussed how to distribute the silver-headed shark demons. Next, everyone also landed on the Coral Island with Lu Kuan. After Qin Mingzhu set up some restrictions, everyone took out spirit stones and elixirs and began to recover. In the battle just now, they had all taken the demonic turtle's attack head-on. In addition to the loss of vitality, their consciousness was also damaged. For a time, the fiercest battlefield in the Shiyuan state had calmed down. For some reason, Lu Kuan did not put away the demonic turtle's corpse. Instead, he sat on the turtle's shell and operated the body-refining technique to recover the demonic energy in his body. Although the battle, just now, was extremely short, the consumption was astonishing. The demonic energy in his body was about to be exhausted. The Tongling Arm magical power, the compression force field of his physical body's origin energy, and the activation of 206 bone treasures consumed an astonishing amount of demonic energy. If the battle had continued for a while longer, he was afraid that he would not have been able to hold on. In addition, in order to resist the demonic turtle's lightning attack head-on, Lu Kuan added a large amount of blood essence to his muscles to enhance his physical defense and recovery. It seemed that he used his physical body to resist the powerful lightning magical power head-on. However, without the support of a large amount of blood essence, even with the help of lightning resistance, his flesh and blood would have collapsed long ago. After all, the strength of his muscles was still far from that of his bone treasures. Now, only about 30% of his blood essence was left in his body. Looking back on the battle just now, Lu Kuan could not help but break out in cold sweat. Others might not have noticed, but he used the GoldenEye magical power to sense that most of the demonic spiritual energy in the demonic turtle's body was in a state of chaos. The reason why the Orb of Destruction was effective was because the demon tortoise's demon spirit energy had all retreated back into his body. After all, the destructive power of this self-detonating treasure was only at the peak of the early nascent soul stage. Only when it exploded inside the demon tortoise's body would it be able to harm him. The state of the 10th level demonic turtle meant that the previous attacks of Reverend Dao, Yi, and the Kuei Cow King had already severely injured him. However, the demonic turtle did not show it. Moreover, the soul formation intent hidden by the senior was probably not that simple. According to Lu Kuan's judgment, this demonic turtle was only in a state of half-strength. This demonic turtle could suppress the Kuei Cow King and the others because of the terrifying lightning evasion and frenzy will. The lightning evasion could ensure that the demonic turtle could dodge all kinds of attacks, and the frenzy will greatly increase its attack power. Unfortunately, Lu Kuan was not afraid of these 2 points. With all the bones in his body and borrowing strength from the void, his short-distance explosive speed was not inferior to the lightning evasion. His divine sense concealment magical power could even resist the spiritual stone monkey's frenzy will, let alone this demonic turtle. However, Lu Kuan did not feel the joy of victory. Instead, his heart was heavy, and he increasingly felt the importance of cultivation. If the demonic turtle was in his best state, he would not be a match at all. The demonic turtle had the demonic king's intent, and the severing fist could not intercept the chi of heaven and earth. Furthermore, the demonic turtle's defensive power was not inferior to his. Although the void compression could restrict the teleportation magical power, it required him to activate the power of the linking arms. His demonic energy could not last for too long. After a long battle, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Due to the existence of the lightning evasion, he might not even be able to escape after being defeated. My cultivation is still not enough. My demonic energy is being used up too quickly. When I go back this time, I must research a treasure to recover my demonic energy. There was a problem with the previous structure, but if I change it. As Lu Kuan pondered, he continuously absorbed spiritual energy and demonic energy to recover the almost depleted demonic energy and blood essence in his body. Chapter 1033. 2 to 4 hours later, Lu Kuan ended his cultivation. Although the amount of demonic energy he recovered in such a short time was limited, he still had some combat power. When he woke up, the others all sensed it and opened their eyes. Obviously, they did not cultivate too deeply. Lu Kuan saw this and looked at the old man not far away. He smiled and said, "Dao, spiritual master, now that the turtle demon has been taken care of, what are the plans of the Chu country's cultivation sects?" Dao, spiritual master, glanced at the turtle demon corpse at Lu Kuan's feet and frowned. "I just received a message from the talisman of 1,000 miles. The battle at the northern node has been settled. However, the sea demons at the southern node are still resisting fiercely. If we go to support them, the battle should end quickly." Lu Kuan said, "If that's the case, why don't you all take Lu's cloud-treading ship and hurry on your way? You can also recover some mana on the way and end the battle as soon as possible." As he spoke, he waved one hand, and a huge grayish-white flying ship appeared in the air. It was 150 feet long and 30 feet wide. Its surface flashed with complex inscriptions, and there were several rooms on it. Faint, restrictive spiritual light wandered on it. "Everyone, please." After speaking, Lu Kuan dragged the huge turtle demon corpse and flew up first. This ship was taken from a Yang clan by the miraculous gate. After a lot of twists and turns, it fell into Lu Kuan's hands. Everyone was also very knowledgeable. From the exquisite refining techniques on it, they immediately associated it with the Yang clan. However, they were a little afraid of Lu Kuan and did not dare to mention anything. "Pavilion Master Chun, please control it for me. This is the restrictive token for this ship." Chen Mingzhu took a flashing token and agreed. His eyes flashed with surprise. He was proficient in the art of formations, but he was a little unfamiliar with the miniature formations of refining weapons. Such a good opportunity to use the high-quality flying ship of the Yang clan was something he could not ask for more. After that, Lu Kuan dragged the corpse of the demon turtle into the largest cabin of the flying ship. The Kuei Cow King and the Dao, the enlightened master's ears twitched slightly as they followed closely behind. A restrictive light flashed and covered the cabin. The others found a place on the flying boat to recover their magic power. After entering the cabin, Daoist Dao, he suddenly discovered that the room seemed to contain spatial fluctuations. The area was much larger than it looked from the outside. It was at least 10 zhang in size, and the corpse of the demon turtle was not crowded inside. Lu Kuan sat casually on the tortoise shell and lamented, "I didn't expect this demon tortoise to have such terrifying strength. Fortunately, I allied with the two of you. Otherwise, with Lu's strength, I wouldn't have been able to destroy this demon tortoise." The Kuei Cow King narrowed his eyes and said, "Master Lu, you are too humble. This demon has reached the level of a half-step demon king, and its attacks contain the power of will. It is already fortunate that we were able to kill it." The Dao enlightened master also let out a sigh and said, "Fortunately, Brother Cow and I interrupted this fellow's ascension in time. If it had successfully broken through, I'm afraid we wouldn't have been its match. Lu Kuan jumped down from the tortoise shell and chuckled. Let's split the spoils. According to the contract, the Thunder Pearl belongs to the Tao Requital Enlightened Master, and the Demon Core belongs to the Kuei Cow King. After saying that, Lu Kuan directly inserted his hands into the gaps of the tortoise shell. His arms suddenly became several times thicker, and a tyrannical force surged out. Crack! This corpse that had lost all signs of life could not withstand such terrifying force. The purple tortoise shell was separated like a clam shell, revealing the green, wrinkled skin inside. In the middle of the back of this flesh was a bloody wound. A faint purple spine could be seen in the gap. It seemed that this spine was the connection point between the tortoise shell and the flesh. A golden light flashed in Lu Kuan's eyes. He opened the wound along the spine. His hands shook slightly, and two purple halos slowly floated out under the influence of an invisible force. One was a fist-sized ball, and its surface flashed with deep purple lightning. The three of them could feel the astonishing power of thunder and lightning. The other was a faint purple demon core, and it surged with incomparably vigorous demon spiritual energy. Lu Kuan waved his hand and directly threw these two items to the Tao Enlightened Master and the Kuei Cow King. These are the items that you two wanted. Then he said lightly, in this battle, Lu took the greatest risk. The rest belongs to Lu. After receiving the Thunder Pearl and Demon Core, the man and the demon were pleasantly surprised. But after hearing Lu Kuan's words, their faces darkened. The Tao Enlightened Master snorted coldly. We did not hesitate to consume our Yuan Qi to interrupt the Tortoise Demon's breakthrough. In other words, Brother Ox and I beat the Tortoise Demon down to the Demon King realm. Master Lu wants to take the rest of the spoils with just one sentence. Isn't that too overbearing? The Kuei Cow King also said, the Tao Enlightened Master is right. If we did not act, the Tortoise Demon would have entered the Demon King realm. Our contributions are no less than Master Lu's. Lu Kuan said meaningfully, this Tortoise Demon was able to smoothly break through because of your help. The Tao Enlightened Master frowned and said with some displeasure, Master Lu, what do you mean? Lu Kuan snorted coldly and said, do you really think that Lu did not notice? Although the Yuan Qi shield sealed the Shiyuan state, it extracted the remnant willpower of serene, leaving behind the pure Yuan Qi of heaven and earth. The moment the Yuan Qi shield closed, it meant that the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth was purified. This gave the tortoise a chance to break through. The Kuei Cow King knows the secrets of the Thousand Tides formation. Lu does not believe that you do not know the most important thing about the Thousand Tides formation. The Kuei Cow King and the Tao Enlightened Master's expressions changed slightly. The room fell silent for a moment. Lu Kuan's hand flashed, and a small gray ball appeared. From time to time, there were vibrations coming from it. He said slowly, the reason why you two gave the tortoise a chance to break through is probably because of the soul of the half-step Demon King. Seeing that the two did not speak, he continued, it's not that we can't discuss it, but Lu first wants to know what you are using the soul for. It's okay if you don't say. You can try to snatch it from Lu. At this point, Lu Kuan's tone suddenly became extremely cold. The Tao Enlightened Master and the Kuei Cow King looked at each other. Their lips moved slightly, as if they were communicating telepathically. After a full 15 minutes, the Tao Enlightened Master slowly said, if that's the case, I won't hide it from Master Lu. I wonder if the Pavilion Master has heard of the Fate Pill. Lu Kuan was stunned at first, but then he seemed to think of something. His expression changed, and he said the Fate Pill. Could it be that Brother Tao is talking about the kind of pill that can catalyze the consciousness and allow a nascent soul stage cultivator to experience the changes of the next realm? The Tao Enlightened Master nodded lightly and said, before we met Master Lu, our original plan was to use the Thousand Tides formation to prevent it from absorbing the Yuan Qi of heaven and earth. We were also confident that we could kill the tortoise. The effect of the Fate Pill is related to the materials used. The fate pill refined from the soul of a demon at the pinnacle of the 10th level is most effective for a nascent soul stage cultivator in the middle stage. It can allow them to understand the abhijna of the late stage in advance. But for us great cultivators, it can only condense the consciousness and increase the cultivation of our divine will. Although it can increase the chances of a breakthrough, compared to the effect of experiencing the next realm, it's a far cry. But if it's refined from the soul of a half-step demon king, the effect of the fate pill can at least allow us to understand part of the abhijna of a soul formation stage cultivator for a short period of time. The effect is practically heaven and earth. The Kuei Cow King added, "The reason why we hit it off with Master Lu was that the three of us combined greatly increased our strength. We definitely had a chance to kill the tortoise demon in the half-step demon king state." At this point, he paused and sighed, but I didn't expect that the tortoise demon's lightning turtle bloodline would be so pure. The lightning escape technique is so easy to grasp, and its strength is so terrifying. Spiritual Master Dao, he looked at Lu Kuan seriously and said in a sincere tone, "Master Lu's abhijna is unique, and the demon soul he captured is very complete. It's very likely that he can refine 3 pills. As long as Master Lu hands over the demon soul to us, I'm willing to give Master Lu a fate pill." Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a thoughtful look. After a while, he said slowly, "If that's the case, the rest of the tortoise's body material will belong to me. I'm sure you've used your divine will to check that this tortoise demon did not carry any storage magic items." Lu only took the tortoise shell and its bones. The man and the demon communicated for a while and finally could only agree helplessly. The abhijna displayed by this Master Lu was too terrifying and had almost no weaknesses. Moreover, with that astonishing speed, they could not stop him at all. They could only compromise. Suddenly, a pitch-black stone appeared in Lu Kuan's hand. A deep aura surged on it. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. "If that's the case, the two of you can use Lu's oath stone to make the agreement." Spiritual Master Dao, Yi, and the Kuei Cow King scanned it with their divine will and could not help but laugh bitterly. The 3 of them signed a restriction contract on the exchange of the demon soul and the fate pill. Chapter 1034. The war between the cultivators of the Chu state and the demon clan ended after more than 20 years. In the Battle of the Thousand Tides formation, 2 nascent soul cultivators were killed and 4 had their bodies destroyed, leaving only their nascent souls. However, compared to the Sea clan, their losses were negligible. Under the joint sneak attack of the immortal cultivators and the land demon clan, the Sea clan lost dozens of shape-shifting demon beasts, including 2 level 10 experts. Only a few managed to escape. After this war, the structure of the Chu state also changed greatly. According to the agreement with the land demon clan, the Shiyuan province belonged to these demon beasts. Although this vast area was submerged by the sea, without the support of the Thousand Tides formation, the sea would gradually recede. In a few months, or in a few years, the Shiyuan province would become the new habitat of the land demon clan. Although the competition for resources among the cultivators was more intense, with the demon clan as a buffer, even if the Sea clan attacked again, there would be the land demon clan blocking in front, giving the Chu state a buffer zone. On this day, in the clouds near the Tianxiong mountain of the Zhongyun province, a gray flying boat was floating. The disciples of the Tao E-School who were shuttling in the air nearby glanced at the flying boat from time to time. Although they heard from their elders that there was a senior expert in the flying boat and they must not disturb him, they still could not help but size him up. In the spiritual light of the restriction of the flying boat, there were nearly 100 fiery red, monkey demon beasts. They were looking left and right, very curious. Among them, there were 3 demon beasts with strong spiritual power. 2 of them emitted level 5 fluctuations, and the one with the deepest cultivation had directly reached the peak of level 7. It was the monkey demon beasts called Sanhua. They sat quietly in front of the cabin, occasionally looking inside with eyes full of reverence. Lu Kuan's burly figure sat cross-legged inside, emitting strange fluctuations that made people's hearts palpitate. Behind him was a huge purple turtle corpse. After an unknown period of time, he slowly opened his eyes. Listening to the cheerful cries of the fire spirit monkeys outside, he could not help but smile. A few days ago, they joined the battle at the southern coastline. The cultivators of the Chu state seemed to have the help of the gods. They destroyed the demonic beasts of the sea race easily and ended the invasion of the sea race. After that, Lu Kuan, led by the Kuei Cow King, took away the shamanic fire monkey tribe. Back then, when he fought against the group of shark demons, he made a request to the Kuei Cow King to take away this tribe. The psychic fire monkeys were similar to the black mountain apes of the past. They were extremely weak, with only 3 level 5 existences and above. The total number of psychic fire monkeys was less than 100. No wonder the Kuei Cow King agreed so readily. The next step was naturally to trade for the revival fortune pill with Taoist Tao Yi. This kind of top-notch spirit medicine had special requirements. The fresher the ingredients, the higher the effect. After refining the pill, it had to be consumed within 3 days, or it would lose its effect. After arriving at the new mountain gate of the Tao Yi sect, the Kuei Cow King went straight in, as if he trusted the Tao Yi sect very much. Lu Kuan did not do the same. His mana had not recovered yet, so he would not take the risk. He continued to recover his mana on the cloud-treading ship. Lu Kuan stopped the recovery of his mana and looked at his body. He could not help but frown. A few years ago, I started to refine my muscles. Their strength had already increased slightly, but I did not expect that after my muscles were destroyed by a powerful attack and revived, they would be severely damaged. They were actually reduced to the initial bone transformation stage. He pinched his muscles and recalled the battle a few days ago. Whether it was the level 10 shark demon or the level 10 peak turtle demon, he had relied on his strong physical body to face them head-on. Those terrifying attacks that contained the chi of heaven and earth could completely destroy his muscles. But thanks to Lu Kuan's powerful blood essence, his muscles recovered to their original state in the blink of an eye. During the battle, he did not notice anything strange. Now that he had calmed down and cultivated, he realized that the strength of his muscles had decreased slightly. After entering the bone transformation stage, all the muscles in my body have entered a new realm. Under contraction and tension, their strength is equivalent to that of an immortal cultivator's magic treasure. It is like an incomparably hard dead object, but when it is damaged and restored, it is in an active state. Lu Kuan formed a claw with one hand. Several silver vortexes condensed on it. He directly scratched a 5-finger claw mark on his right arm. Then, under the influence of his powerful blood essence, these muscles began to wriggle. He closed his eyes and quietly felt the changes in his muscles. After entering the bone transformation stage, the battles he encountered were not very powerful. The most powerful opponent was Shi Jingtian, a late nascent soul stage powerhouse who was not in a good state. His muscles were not greatly damaged or restored, and at that time, he had not calmed down to cultivate. It was not until the time before he came to Chu that he began to study the cultivation method of the early bone transformation stage. Recently, he had fought with the Kuei Ox King and the others. The power of the 2 great cultivators had blasted apart part of his flesh. Then, he had fought with a level 10 sea demon. The rate at which his flesh regenerated and recovered was astonishing. Only then did he feel the changes in his body. The demonic energy in the body of a body cultivator is mainly born for battle. It does not have a direct recovery effect on the body. The only thing that can truly restore the body is the powerful blood essence. Especially after entering the bone transformation stage, after the body integrates, the blood essence becomes the bridge that connects the various parts of the body. Even some unique supernatural powers require the use of blood essence. If the muscles are a magic treasure that can be restored, then the blood essence is the magic power that nurtures it. This magic treasure is not seriously damaged, but the magic power is unable to nurture and restore it. This means that the level of the magic power is not enough. Lu Kuan had been deriving the body cultivation method all the way to the current realm. His understanding of the body was deeper than anyone else. After discovering the problem with his muscles, he immediately determined the reason. That was the current strength of his blood essence was not enough to support the recovery of his muscles. All kinds of thoughts flowed in his mind. After entering the bone transformation stage, the entire body becomes the same origin. The later stages are obviously the transition of the strength of the bone treasure to other parts. I have already found a way to speed up the transition of the muscles. But now it seems that if the blood essence can't keep up, high-intensity battles can't be carried out at all. Otherwise, the muscles that have been painstakingly cultivated will be beaten back to the early bone transformation stage level. In other words, the early bone transformation stage needs to cultivate the blood essence at the same time. While thinking, Lu Kuan's blood essence surged. The muscles on the surface of his body were twisted, contracting, and bulging. At the same time, the muscle fibers were filled with thick blood. The blue veins between his muscles turned pale silver. They were filled with an astonishingly dense blood essence. At the same time, a destructive aura surged out from the depths of his bones. After a moment, Lu Kuan's muscles relaxed, but the power of blood essence was still surging. At this time, there was suddenly a light aura swimming in his body. His entire body emitted a rich life force. After a while, his body suddenly shrank, as if it was smaller, but the blood essence in his body was even more vigorous. Lu Kuan's body relaxed, returning to his previous state. He opened his eyes, and they flashed with surprise. He murmured, "I originally thought that blood essence was cultivated at the middle bone transformation stage. But in fact, that's not the case at all. When the body becomes a whole, then the connection between blood and muscles is even closer. Combined with the blood and flesh condensation method, why can't they become one? In the previous battle, the defensive power of my muscles increased by a level with the support of blood essence. In the early bone transformation stage, I can completely treat blood as the nature of my muscles. After blood is thick and compressed, it can also be refined by the power of destruction, and its vitality can also be nourished by the power of life. Blood and muscles can be cultivated at the same time. Lu Kuan couldn't help but stand up. He was a little enraptured. My blood and muscles are improving at the same time. That means that in the early bone transformation stage, my blood essence is constantly strengthening. Then, as my cultivation deepens and I absorb the power of life from blood essence, my cultivation speed will become faster and faster. This is a virtuous cycle. Otherwise, even if my blood essence recovery speed is amazing, if I want to cultivate my muscles and life force to the limit of the early bone transformation stage, it will take a terrifying amount of time. Ha ha! Lu Kuan was ecstatic. If his guess was correct, the early bone transformation stage cultivation had completely taken shape. The early bone transformation stage cultivation requires the blood and muscles to condense together for cultivation. It is divided into 3 stages: tempering the muscles and blood, cultivating the power of life, nourishing the muscles and blood, and restoring the body's blood essence. The more powerful the blood essence, the faster the power of life will increase, forming a virtuous cycle. He looked at the corpse of the turtle monster behind him. In addition to the life essence extracted from the powerful flesh and blood to speed up the recovery of blood essence, the early bone transformation stage cultivation time is greatly reduced. First, set a small goal, such as 1 second. Remember, Bookhouse. Chapter 1035. Lu Kuan took a deep breath and suppressed the urge to cultivate in seclusion. He turned to look at the corpse of the demon turtle beside him. He waved his hand, and under the influence of an invisible force, the light purple turtle shell slowly floated up. The flesh below and the bottom of the turtle shell were kept in the storage space. Then, he turned the heavy purple turtle shell over. The body structure of this demon turtle was very clear. The spine connected the turtle shell to the body. This turtle shell could be said to be an extension of the skeleton. A protruding spine could be clearly seen. Rows of thick rib-like bones extended from both sides of the spine. These bones were embedded in the turtle shell and stabilized the structure. Lu Kuan's eyes stared at the two ribs near the outer edge. A smile appeared on his lips. This demon turtle is not simple. Like me, he refined his bones into a storage space. He even wrapped it with a layer of bone-like material that can block out consciousness. If I didn't have similar experience, I'm afraid I wouldn't have discovered it. After Lu Kuan killed this level 10 demon turtle, he did not put its body in the storage space. It seemed like he let the corpse be within the sight of Dao Yi and the Kuei Cow King. But in reality, this was because the corpse in his rib bone storage space had a strong repulsion and could not be stored. When Lu Kuan was captured alive by old Demon Pang, his bones could not be stored in the storage space. This was because the rib bone also had the spatial attribute. The corpse of the demon turtle gave him the same feeling. So Lu Kuan took out the cloud-treading ship. On the surface, it was for everyone to stay and negotiate with Dao, Yi, and the others. But the main purpose was to store the corpse. Later, when he was peeling off the turtle shell, he secretly used the golden eye technique and finally found the strange bones in the turtle shell. Dao, Yi, and the Kuei Cow King's late nascent soul stage consciousness did not detect anything strange. The two of them would never have thought that bones could be refined into a storage space. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with excitement. He placed the turtle shell on the deck and jumped in lightly. His hands turned into claws with 10 dazzling silver vortexes flashing on them. They turned into claw shadows and grabbed at the two bones. They seemed to be unable to withstand Lu Kuan's attack and were stripped of a large amount of light purple fragments. Dang! A moment later, a crisp sound was heard, and a spark seemed to light up between the pale silver claw and the bone. Lu Kuan immediately stopped and used his spiritual consciousness to probe forward. The Oceanids are actually so wealthy. Even though Lu Kuan had killed quite a few nascent soul cultivators and had seen a lot, when he saw the items inside, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. The first thing he saw was a pile of high-grade spirit stones. These spirit stones were rare in the outside world, but when placed together, there were probably close to 100 of them. A ball of weak magic power appeared in Lu Kuan's hand. With a slight movement of his hand seal, he sent all the high-grade spirit stones into his ribs. This spirit stone. Suddenly, a sparkling and translucent stone appeared in his hand. Extremely dense spirit energy surged out. Just by using his spiritual consciousness, he felt a sense of transparency. He stroked the spirit stone and was surprised to find that in addition to the pure and dense spirit energy, there was also a lot of heaven and earth yuan qi stored in the stone. He had never heard of a spirit stone that could contain heaven and earth yuan qi. Wait a minute, is this the legendary top-grade spirit stone? Lu Kuan seemed to think of something and was pleasantly surprised. This kind of top-grade spirit stone was extremely rare. Not to mention the nascent soul cultivators he killed. Even the old Monster Pang storage bracelet did not have such a treasure. The heaven and earth yuan qi is only half concentrated. It seems that a part of it has been absorbed by the turtle demon. It is said that top-grade spirit stones have a supportive effect on nascent soul cultivators' breakthrough. It should be because it contains pure heaven and earth yuan qi. Lu Kuan used the dragon breaking stone powder to wrap the spirit stone and solemnly put it away. His cultivation method was unique. It absorbed both spirit energy and demonic energy at the same time. The top-grade spirit stone contained heaven and earth yuan qi, which corresponded to the water of the true demon. Perhaps it would be helpful for a bone transformation stage breakthrough. 7 Realms Lu Kuan suppressed his excitement and continued to look. There were a large number of heaven and earth treasures, as well as many strange monster beast materials. With a cursory glance, these could all be used as top-grade refining materials. With a wave of his hand, he put all of them into his bag. At the back, there were a lot of conches and shells piled up. Lu Kun was a little curious. His divine sense could not penetrate, so he took a shell in his hand and gently opened it. There was a monster core with rich monster chi inside. Level 8 monster core. His eyes lit up as he looked at the remaining shells. However, there weren't many Yao cores, only 6 in total. However, 4 of them were at the 9th level. Furthermore, the Yao spiritual aura within them was unique. It didn't seem like they were ordinary Yao beasts. In addition to the monster core, the rest of the shells were mostly strange seaweed plants. They were full of spirit chi, like herbs used to refine pills. But he knew nothing about alchemy, so he could not identify their uses. As for the conches, he briefly examined them and found that they were similar to the immortal cultivator's jade slips, recording information about the sea race. He did not examine them carefully and put them away. As for the last one, there was a huge monster beast corpse. It was the shark monster that had escaped earlier. This level 9 monster beast had been occupied by the level 10 shark monster's soul at the critical moment, and now it was dead. Lu Kun examined it carefully and did not find the monster's soul. There was only a level 9 monster core, and the level 10 shark monster core was nowhere to be seen. He touched his chin and said, "The Koei Cow King suspected that the turtle monster had swallowed this shark monster." It seemed that he was right. Then Lu Kun moved the corpse. The monster beast's corpse was huge, and the storage space of its ribs was a little tight. Fortunately, he still had the soft ribs with the attributes of the spirit beast bag. The spirit beast's corpse could be shrunk, but even so, with the addition of the shark monster and the turtle monster's corpses, it was almost full. After all, there were still many spirits swallowing worms. After Lu Kun finished packing, he was full of emotions. Although he had taken a lot of risks in this battle, in terms of gains, he was much better than Dao, spiritual master, and the rest. The purpose of this trip to Chu could be said to have been achieved. Not only did he solve the problem of cultivation, the strength he displayed also shocked the high-level cultivators of Chu. The strongest cultivators of the top 3 sects, Dao sect, Valley of Falling Clouds, and Scorching Sun sect, had all seen Lu Kun's methods. Even if the cultivation world of Chu was compressed and the competition for resources was fierce, these sects would not target the body refining pavilion. Instead, it was the sects that were ranked lower that were more dangerous. The blood refining clan to the north of Wei had reached an agreement with the body refining pavilion. The Chu immortal cultivation sects to the west of the land of death were shocked by him. To the south was a desert with barren spiritual energy, and to the east was a mortal country with scarce spiritual energy and few immortal cultivators. The body refining pavilion had the best time to develop. Lu Kun did not expect much. He only wanted 300 years. The agreement with the blood refining clan lasted for 300 years. Even if the major immortal cultivation sects of Chu had internal conflicts, they would definitely do so in secret. After all, they had just joined forces to fight against the Sea Clan. Even if there was a reshuffle, it would take at least a few hundred years. For most immortal cultivation sects, a few hundred years was just a blink of an eye. However, for the body refining pavilion, it was a qualitative leap. With sufficient true devil chi and pure spiritual energy, coupled with his personal guidance, Zhao Qingtian and the other first-generation disciples would only need 100 years to reach the bone treasure realm and try to break through the bottleneck of the bone transformation stage. In this 100 years, the second-generation disciples would also condense their core and melt their bones. The number of body cultivators above the bone tempering stage would increase by several times. If the body refining pavilion was allowed to remain silent for 300 years, hey, the nature pill has been refined? At this moment, a jade talisman appeared in Lu Kun's hand. It flashed with spiritual light, and a message from Dao, spiritual master, came. If you like Ancestor of Body Cultivators, please bookmark it. Ancestor of body cultivators, Qing Do updates the fastest. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.